potentially messes with that. The Rift we go, folks. Gyro's the first day of the week. There's the LNG skybox. Gameplay to come. Early level 1 invade. Tangon's going to have to back away. Slightly glad that he didn't mess that one up. There is indeed the ward there on that blue buff that will not be swept out. So Quokka might still start over here and say, yeah, we're going to split this map and try and get 1xN and crew a better early start. Tangon still around. Strictly will be spotted out now as he blast cones over towards his mid lane wave.
So they'll know that the camp's being taken. What can they do about it? So Skarner's going Raptors, likely going over towards enemy jungle right after this. It will be warded if he goes over blue buff, so it will be seen. But at least they'll be getting the camp away from the enemy jungle. Hung's had a weird split himself. Now, this is not the support player, it's the jungle player, right? He used to be on Team WE for a very long time. He was a big Mundo jungle player, actually, even before anyone else was playing that.
How about that?
Yeah, and he's been a very, you know, mixed career for him. Now, what is 1xN doing?
That was something.
My dude, I love you to bits, but perhaps we don't flash at level 1 for an auto attack.
Was he expecting a hook?
I don't know, Sam. Well, presumably not.
He's got barrier down as well.
Yeah, he cast both summoners, Sam, in that trade. I don't really know why.
Okay, look, 1xN is my goat. I love this player. That is either aura farming, or there was something we didn't see, or just straight up misplay. My gut says misplay.
Well, I'm going to go look back at it, because what the heck happens here?
There's the hook now onto missing, but it's not going to lead to all that much. Maybe it is just straight aura farming. Maybe that's the plays we made along the way. The thing is, he's now into double summoners, and if he does mess this up, it will be... Yeah, it is just flashing an auto.
It's flashing for no good reason and getting a single auto attack after. That, Sam, is a misclick.
Yeah, well, it's done.
Exactly. Sam, what I said is just achieved nirvana. Yeah. You know, he's found, you know, Sam, you know, to make yourself through the cycles of Nirvana and Samsara, Sam, you have to let go of your worldly possessions. You have to let go of your hubris. You must let go of the summoners to make it through the cycle of reincarnation, Sam. What extent? Truly, the enlightened one of our group, Sam.
Guys, I'm 1xN's biggest shill. Like, I've been this guy's defender for years. I've got nothing. I've got nothing. I don't know what it is.
No, it's not. He's just let go of his worldly possessions. Next thing, he's gonna sell all those items and go like completely just like bare bones into lane.
It's protest against the draft.
It's like, no, this is the kind of guy which loads into an arena game that only buys shards. Like, he doesn't buy items. You know, you actually get, but you actually get rewarded for that.
Yeah.
You know,
have you done it?
Many times, yeah. Shard stacking is great. You know, there's actually a Brandon Sanderson reference in Arena now.
Oh, is there?
There's an item called Shard Blade.
Hey!
Yeah, there's an item called Shard Blade, which increases the value of your shards.
Life before death, Radiant.
Yeah, journey before destination.
Well, the last time we saw this from NIP's Shanji back in 24 before he kind of dropped out of that roster.
Yeah, and this was a very interesting point because winter of 2024, the early part of that year was littered with TF top. It was disgusting. It was killing everyone. This is when Sheer came up to the fore, because Sheer was one of the best Twisted Fate top lane players in the world at that point. And then by the later parts of 2024, it had really just fallen off. This champion was nerfed an awful lot in terms of attack speed, in terms of the damage of the E, in terms of the items he was building, both in terms of Kraken Slayer and in terms of Shiv. So a lot of the items he was building were really nerfed. So Shanji was a big player of that too, but there's a reason why that really fell off very harshly after being picked early in that split.
Yeah, that's the one. There's the reshove from LGD as 1xN goes for that reset, gets himself the tier, gets himself the longsword. Fairly happy with that one. For the last time I saw TF top was it Ibo who was playing it? It was one of the other Legends Premier League with some of the cooler ERL players playing it. Was one of the, and basically was into Exante. 2-0 within the first 5 minutes. Horrendous stuff. And we might having a bit of a contest over these Raptors, so perhaps we might have to hold on story time a second. But no, Hung throws out the upheaval and goes, I'm done with that.
I'm here with my hot chocolate. Tell me the story, Sam.
Basically, between Kraken Slayer and Juntal Wild Arrows, which give you like 30% attack speed on hit, you get a lot of attack speed, basically, and you're less reliant on your just native attack speed. You can get it from your items these days. And I think people forget as well that the picker card, you know, like the gold card, blue card stuff, that's 100% AD scaling. Like, it's crazy scaling. So you do a lot of damage if you get to cycle through those, alongside getting a load of your passive autos off. So People assume that the damage all comes from magic damage. It's not true.
No, it's very mixed damage when he goes for that. And again, we have seen like bits and pieces of ADTF at points in the past. And again, I've learned way more about this champion than I would have liked to through seeing shard building Twisted Fates in Arena again. God, that champion. Because the thing is, his passive's changed in Arena. So every time he does damage to a champion, he gets gold because he doesn't last hit minions in that mode. So he just ends up getting like 1 million extra gold and just farms up to 1 million stats. And turns out he scales on literally everything, which is for sure a fair and balanced thing to have there. Y6 going low actually here.
Yeah, got caught by that tether. There was no flash C. Could have used it now. Goes for the Mystic Shot. Nearly gets it. And YCX does have to leave. Worth noting, Croco's on this dragon very early on with that early prio. Xiao's going to be interrupted. There's a level 6. There's a pillar. This gets spicy. Another focused resolve. Is Xiao going to have to flash? Not going to do so quite yet. Mantra Q, the soul flares there. Croco looking for the pillar. Flashes for the chomp. That's the slow. The pillar after gets the kill. Vitality get the ping from the emote. And now Bulldog's going to flash on the other side. The Impale lands, and that might well lead to the death of the dog in the mid lane. Put in the candle, and Tang Yuan will not get it from over the wall. It will still go to the Skarner.
So both junglers get involved. YCX actually does get Aftershock there, but doesn't stop the recall because it was within the last portion of the recall timer. Croco is so important to get ahead in this game for LNG, and the fact that he's the one that gets the kill is very important. The fact that Xiao and YCX are the ones being put behind is also very important too. Now LGD do have big globals to bring out to play into the not too distant future, and they'll really want to either visit each other's lanes. I think particularly they want to focus on the Twisted Fates, but if they can get bot lane, they'll take that opportunity too. The problem is, if they start trying to bail out bot lane, I think it's much harder to do that because, you know, Xiao and YCX should have been the consistent rock in terms of this draft. The Misfortune Nautilus is meant to be very hard to interact with. That has just not been the case here. And how do you global onto an Ezreal who's ahead like this? Ezreal, fortunately, with Flash now. I really think that LGD, if they fall apart through bot lane, this is going to be a huge issue for them because realistically, their comp is designed to go topside. They'll try and take options bot side if they present themselves, but I think that's going to be quite hard for them, Sam.
Yeah, it could well be quite challenging, and I think just finding these early leads, the early dragon stacking with the prio you're getting from bot lane just makes sense, right? You're the one with the trundle who can absolutely solo dragon very early on. You're going to need no assistance, just a bit of prio to ensure you're not getting jumped on. That all feels pretty good.
Shout out to G in chat. If only we had some kind of gap closer to close the distance with the Nautilus there. You know, truly I am beyond.
I've got a flash of inspiration.
Oh, wow. Incredible. What is this, Sam?
If I were to press the F key,
right,
perhaps it would make someone else press it so they could FF for 5 minutes.
See, that's the problem with 1xn. He's actually running flash on D. So that's why he's actually, no longer 100% my go.
Give him the D key. That's fine.
Wow, that's very mature of you, Sam.
I know, right?
Yeah. Okay, Grub's getting taken by LGD. Yeah.
Nice, make it rain. Important, that one.
Spots him out. I mean, it is, but he's just walked up to the tower anyway, Sam.
Oh, he's got no flash. Xiao, you can't do that, mate. Kill goes to the trundle. That's 2-0 now for Croco.
The artist formerly known as Savior needs one, really. He's not had an easy time, and this is a huge issue because I think, we were saying this earlier. LGD really are designed to go top lane. They want Birdle to be ahead, and they want Tang Yuan to ult onto him, and then Birdle to ult around the map to kind of keep pushing his pressure. Xiao can't afford to fall behind. He's meant to be consistent. Oh my god, they're going to gank him against him. Even if YCX comes down here, neither of them have flash, and they have levels down. This is horrible for them.
Oh, YCX needs to try and hook towards the wall, but there's just nowhere to go. They're going to donate this kill over. Missing gets that. Where is the Skarner? He's the top side of the map, and I mean, this bot lane cannot play the game.
LGD, who went 2-0 very viciously in the first 2 series of this split, are now getting completely ran around the map by LNG, who, of course, we are a team in Nirvana who it feels like they're the pub stomp team in Nirvana. If you are not mechanically good enough to contend with early lane, to stop Croco getting into your jungle, this team will they will disregard your very basic rights. You know, it's like, remember when, was it Daney or one of the big coaches, was it even a CV Max that was saying, like, you know, when you play against a T1 and you're not as good as them, they just abuse your basic rights of existence.
Max, yeah.
It's like
T1 in scrims.
Yeah, it does feel like LNG, look, within the scope of Nirvana, right? But it's a similar kind of style where, LNG, I don't think they're a perfect team. I think if Croco falls behind, this team does fall apart, and that's why I'm quite worried about them, even against a team like WE, if it comes to it, in the quote-unquote playing stage. They are going to TF ult behind the tower now.
Over we go. Going to drive on in. This likely will be the death of Croco, who does get a decent subjugate off. The shield is there for missing, but it's not quite in time. Will flash out of the Impale, but Shear's now around with the Meganar building. But there's enough members coming up here that this is still going to be the end of that. Xiaoyu, of course, had to rotate up there because he couldn't play bot lane. The problem is he's getting no stats towards his role quest. Didn't get involved in that kill either. I think Shear and Missing are going to back away. They flashed over that wall. Okay.
Yeah, that wasn't even a Hex Flash. Y6 isn't running that, so they just flash over for the aura farming, I guess. We've had some liberal flash usage in this game, Sam. 1xN still getting solo farm and solo tower plates down in bot lane, and this is starting to deny the bot lane role quest from Xiaoyu. He's just not going to have it.
Hop away from the hook. Shear's staying in range for a boomerang or two. Will drop a little bit of farm, but bluntly, because Xiaoyu is taking a load of this experience, it's still going to be the AD carry getting solo XP, the Xiaoyu getting nothing on the opposite side of it. Shear's just about in range. He'll drop 10 CS. It's not the end of the world here.
He's dropped about a full level, though. That's the big thing. Shear's dropped, you know, 10 CS, but the big thing is he's lost out on almost an entire level to Birdall, and he's going to lose a little bit more here, too. The cannon shouldn't die to the turret here. It's going to be first turret to the side of LGD. However, bot lane quest is completed by 1xN, and now that means that every minion he kills up until MF kills that he's going to get an extra gold per minion too. Dragon taking my LNG too.
That's a big one, so they get Dragon. Pick those up. I want to say Grubs were picked up by LGD, but I wasn't paying attention to the purple aura, so that's the way of that. Shear picks up the majority of this wave here, and that'll help mitigate some of the discrepancy top, and that will be annoying because, of course, the TF being a split push win condition is going to be a problem. And again, the gold's not actually that excessive because LGD, I do think, do a decent job of problem solving their way to at least getting some gold on the map. The problem is, where has that gold been leveraged? I think the Ezreal being this far ahead and the player that it's on, early level 1 flash notwithstanding, is pretty scary stuff to see.
I mean, Birdall's also got himself an extra 100 procs of his passive, which is anywhere between, it evens out about, you know, 5 gold a minion. So to chuck out an extra 500 onto the lead from Birdall from that, basically. So 1xN has a Triforce early into the game, stacking his tier well. Did, of course, get a huge amount of pressure down in that bot lane. Problem for LGD now is actually that, how do you deal with the Ezreal Karma in mid lane when they're this far ahead? They've managed to transfer very early into mid lane prior. They're trying to play very respectfully here because they're not sure exactly where you know, the roaming members can come through walls, but I'm really afraid now for LGD because they still have to deal with the Ezreal. He's 1.5k ahead, and he's going to be sat in mid lane, which is a big problem. At least LNG can just kind of like sit and soak the TF pushing a lane for a little while. I don't think LGD can do the same with the Ezreal Karma, just completely holding on to mid lane.
Yeah, there will be a world where, of course, the TF and the Rise start collapsing from side lanes from their shoves and then looking to double realm warp mid, and then you can take out a cleanseless Ezreal, potentially, especially if there's a Nautilus or a Skarner also around to link in that CC chain. Missing is bot side, trying to scout out where the Skarner is. And there you can see 1xN just being a little aware there might be a bit of a play. He's got to be a bit careful because he doesn't know who's in this Raptor camp.
Yeah, he needs to be quite careful. The thing is, though, if he stands this close to the wall, he's actually okay from the wall stun from the Skarner mostly. I was a little bit afraid to get pinched over the wall by the ultimate, actually. Sometimes it has been done before. It was Yike that did it that one Worlds, right? Did it that one Worlds? It was. Hang on, that's going to be Han getting caught out by the pillar. Where's his wall stun? That's a lot of damage.
Oh, has to flash, and rightly so. Looks to go for the Mystic Shot and the Essence Flux. That was a pixel off hitting Teemo fatter, and that Skarner was down for the count. Blast Cone behind Tang Yuan makes him look a little bit dicey as the Root and the Soul Flare come on forwards. It'll be a chunk, but nothing more.
Yeah, and again, this is the problem with trying to play against, because this has all come from that mid lane play, right? This is the problem that we were highlighting earlier about how do you win fights around mid lane? You've got to catch the Ezreal, because if the Ezreal actually starts doing damage, you just kind of lose at this point. Ezreal at the one item spike this early on into the game has a red buff too, is going to run you down, and you're absolutely right. You do probably just need to pill double globals and make a bit of a mess of it. Birdall's now ulting onto Shear, who has to teleport away.
Will TP out just fine. Did have to worry a little bit there about the straight-up DPS check, and does get out. Was the Destiny Gate burn to get up there? Worth, of course, noting Birdall did go towards the chunk there onto Shaq. She's going to have to cancel his bullet time, but the damage is already done to the wave, so there's that. 1xN, again, very close to the kills here.
Yeah, Eid again under turret, thinking, you know, you hit one more Q, potentially that's a kill. Would have forced the barrier maybe from Shaya. Loses a bit of HP from tanking the 2 extra turret shots instead. I think both bot laners will now back as they've kind of taken this point to get their big, completions in. 1xN very close to his Muramana, of course. Once he gets that, that's when the game really becomes difficult for LGD. The 2-item spike from Ezreal is one of the most famous power spikes in the history of League.
Walker's going to run at YCX here, who's kind of by himself right now. Just get bonked quite a lot. The aftershock ends, flash away, needs to get to the other side of this, but there's still the potential for a subjugate and a run down here. YCX left low, the true shot barrage, the Q again just wide. Flash out of the impale, Quaco gets the kill. Focused resolve, but there'll be a blast cone away, and Missing says, get out of here.
Once again, a fight they take around this mid lane, which they're not prepared to. This is not a fight about their Rise and the Twisted Fate, who are actually very strong. There is a realm warp coming now from Tangyuan, but even then, they're spotted out on it. So he's used his global now. Both globals from LGD are down. Those are the tools they need to break open this control, which LNG have had early into this game. LGD is still ahead in gold, but reminder again, a lot of that is from Twisted Fate passive. I don't even think Heng is safe here, by the way. There is actually a chance that 1xN just out-trades.
Focus Resolve comes on down again. Heng's not actually that tanky. He's got HP, but not that much more. Good damage onto 1xN. The hook then lands onto at least one member. That'll be Crocker going over. Subjugate makes things spicy. Focus Resolve. Xiaoya's low. Will get the kill. 1xN turns it around. Needs to think about getting over the wall and flashes to get out of a potential dredge line 1-for-1 as Birdog comes in with the Ghost and the TP. No, it's just a speed up from Home Guard. I do apologize, but there we go. Damage done 1-for-1.
Once again, it's 1xN who completely carries him in that. He just jumps onto the Misfortune, knowing that if Xiaoya actually gets the free hit, it will be a problem. Turns what should have been quite a clean pick from LGD with the hook onto Croco at under half HP into a 1-for-1. 1xN will lose his flash for that. That is definitely something which LNG will want to return to. But giving that gold over to 1xN, it's going to be a problem. Of course it was going to be a problem, but it's a big issue because now, of course, he can get himself towards his Muramana probably within the next minute or so.
Dragons just spawned, a lot of ults still down, a lot of flashes still down. Missing just got caught briefly there, but just get to keep running away. Is there going to be a look for an Impale or a Seismic Bastion? Hang on, Bulldogs here, stun onto that Skarner, who gets pillared after, going to eat a lot of damage, rooted up. The hook lands, the bullet time after, and Missing goes missing. Yeah,
the Mega Gnar doesn't come down, so it ends up being a 5v4. They don't want to bring Gnar down to the play, didn't have the teleport, and Missing without flash is definitely a target able to be picked off, and now this is a problem because LNG, this is where Ezreal actually has to play respectful for a minute. This is where LGD break the dragon stacking. TF gets to ult towards top lane. And of course, Sheer has not really been able to impact this game at all. Had to teleport away from that Twisted Fate earlier. This game very much is about how much value can 1xN get for now. Bulldog does, of course, set up a decent stun there, but damage wasn't quite there to kill the Skarner just this once because the Subjugate was also down. And of course, Missing was out in the open.
Worth noting, Shari's now completed the Cull and the Misfortune. Always a regular thing for her to do, but also picked up a couple kills. Actually, the gold difference in bot lane isn't that crazy anymore.
Well, he's picked up the 2 kills in the last 2 fights.
And the top lane turret as well.
And the top lane turret, yeah. Though after the top lane turret, he was 1,000 gold down, and that was partly because the bot lane roll quest being summoned through. 1xN has the double items now, so does Shai. It's a 2-item to 2-item. So, yeah, I mean, the bot lane difference, we've been talking a lot about 1xN. Shai has got the kills now, though, and it's not like he's out of the game. You're completely right.
Worth noting, though, of course, that the price has basically been a level of XP difference, and that could be significant, because, again, Xiaoya has been able to be blasted if given the opportunity. Died 3 times for a reason. Worth noting that the side lane players now with the Rise, with the TF, are becoming a little difficult to manage. And look, LNG, they've got quite a lot of early priority and stuff, but they don't have anyone who's realistically going to be able to tank up a Nautilus hook into Skarner ult into bullet time full send combo. Like, there's no one really tanky at this point, and that's unlikely to change in the grand scheme of things. Trundle will sort of get
Trundle with its Karma Shield and the Subjugate will be tanky-ish. He's not like a Cassante with a W tanky, but it'll be pretty okay. And of course, when he kills someone, his passive then gives you a ton of extra HP to work with at that point too. Herald now summoned. That'll slam into the mid lane turret. That will not kill from this HP, not even close to it, but it'll start to chunk it down a little more, and LGD will have to cover it.
Got to be a bit careful getting into this, though, because, again, Skarner could just stand and pressure with an ult. Out comes Croco, does get himself sped up there by the Inspire. The Boulder comes tossed out, hooked onto a minion, so that likely means no real threat to this turret. It will fall.
Yeah, I thought that maybe they'd go for an Impale, but they chose not to. Thought maybe they could have impaled the landing point of the Trundle, drag him back into the team. He didn't have flash. Didn't pull the trigger on that. Recall will come from Tangyuan as Bulldog returns down towards bot lane, where he's been laning for most of the game so far.
Bulldog kind of dropped a wave or two there to make that play mid happen. It is worth noting, again, these side lanes are starting to get a little bit out of control for LGD. Up 1,000 gold each. Tangyuan's having a good time of it here. And again, I do think you are going to hit a point with this TF, with this Rise, where realistically the Annie and the Gnar don't really get to win their side lanes ever.
And then it'll just have to be about the CC they provide for the rest of the team. I have to say, LGD, very good recovery. The fact that they got those kills onto Misfortune has made this game playable. I think there was a point where 1xn was just going to take over. I think, sadly for 1xn, you know, it's not by fault of his own that it's got away from that. I think missing Croco just playing a little bit too low HP with no flashes around the midsection of the match, despite the fact they were very strong at that point in time, allowed LGD to kind of climb their way back in terms of gold.
And hell, even that near pick onto Heng, I see the thought process there. If you kill off the Skarner, you feel really good there around potentially contesting for that Dragon. Still got the Herald, still get to get that mid turret. And again, the mid turret being down is really frustrating for the team that wants to play side lanes, because it means the mid side of the map just can't be an anchor point to allow for that. And the Misfortune is pretty, you know, on repeat going to be at risk, especially as these wards do start to get dropped in favor of LNG.
Always a bit worrying when you don't have a gold lead when you're a tower up. That is quite worrying. Now, LG, do you have 3 out turrets? This is good for them. Of course, they got the bot lane one from the bot lane. Bad top. Stop. Hang on, what extension?
Right.
Good damage there though from the 2-item Ezreal.
Does indeed get to hunt for a little bit more. That's why CX and Heng not enjoying that experience at all.
Have you ever seen, you know, Bot Wayne and like Bruce Man in the same room before Sam?
No, might be Jinxie. Who knows?
Right.
Marlon pressing R on Malphite.
Oh god, that'd be part of like the Saturday morning cartoon, like rotating villains, wouldn't he? The Marlon R.
Shit, does steal away the Gromp there, by the way. Nicely done.
Yeah. Someone in chat saying a holy TF gold. We're talking about the TF gold lead. Yep, because with 200 procs of the TF passive, that's an extra 1,000 gold from it. Because you have to basically there is a weighted dice from 1 to 6 for TF, where it doesn't even out at 3.5 that a normal D6 would do, but it goes to about, I think it's average 5 gold. I think it is, because it's weighted more towards 6s on the dice. So when you have 200, you expectly, you know, you times that by, you know, by 5 and you get to 1,000 extra gold, which is effectively the gold lead is his passive.
Yeah, that's pretty good stuff from him. Make no mistake, flash for the hook does land onto Croco. Bullet time is decent, but the subjugate came on through, so Croco actually survives a fair amount of time, but the CC chain is so ridiculous. Then missing, gets knocked up by the depth charge, flash away, stays alive, but the damage in many ways is somewhat done.
It is. I mean, the Trundle survived a very long time, but they didn't really do anything while he was CC'd. 1xn now has to kind of go man mode and just see what he can do.
He's got no mana, that's problematic. He didn't get to reset properly before this play, I'm assuming, so he's just going to have to give up this dragon.
I mean, LNG, they had a moment maybe where they could flash forwards while the CC was on, but I think that's where the beauty of that Nautilus ult comes through. The Nautilus ult is actually what stops the follow-up. It allows Croco to get full CC. Dragon will now go over to LGD, and they don't lose anything for it, despite the fact that, again, 1xn is very powerful. He's a mid-game Ezreal who has a real good ability to outrange this team and potentially do some dirty stuff. But watch what happens to Croco here, right? Because he gets full CC'd, but the big thing is just look at the Nautilus ult just after this, because it feels like Bulldog has to pay so much attention to Tungyuan that he can't go for the big kind of interrupting stun. No one can cancel out the Misfortune. It's a full channel bullet time.
Bulldog was on a 3rd HP, so he couldn't go over the wall there. I half wondered whether it would have been worth just full sending and trading your life to get the play rolling there with a big stun and just saying, yeah, I die, but you just get final.
I think Tungyuan was keeping him in check, so he might have got Rune Prison before he could do that. That was my read on it anyway, but now suddenly, you know, Dragons are there too, and LGD, they've managed to kind of escape this composition. LNG, they need to be coordinating better around these kind of moments in time around, if you're going to play up in a position where LGD can jump on you, you kind of need a Mega Gnar or Annie in position. Yeah, I think that right there, they almost had that, and then they couldn't quite engage to kind of break up the combo.
They can't. Heng's going to get over the wall. Rocco drives through another one. I think is the end of that for now. Good chunks onto various minions. 1600 gold lead to LGD. Couple Chem Dragons, which is not a bad thing actually when you've got the Skarner and the Nautilus. Even people like that Rise actually with the Seraphs and stuff and the Misfortune Bloodthirst, a little bit more ability to deal with some of the upfront poke and burst from LNG, which hasn't been lethal for a lot of the last few minutes, it must be said.
Tenacity is pretty big. See, you know, 12% tenacity. There aren't that many sources of tenacity in the game. More than there were, because they added it to stuff like Styrax and Wit's End. Merc Treads, I think I think they changed the way that tenacity was calculated a couple of years ago, so it's less effective, because I think now it's multiplicative, whatever. There's diminishing returns on it, basically, rather than it being kind of like you can get it to 100% truly or whatever, which Garen could actually pretty much get to. Now, the thing is, CC always has a minimum time it will take impact on you, which I believe is half a second. I think that's the lowest amount that a stun or a piece of CC can be on you. But yeah, their tenacity can be really, really useful. Just for an extra 12% from Chem Dragons, it'll help you out against that. The anti-stun, it'll help you versus the Mega Gnar potentially too. All pretty good.
It's the one chunk there onto Xiaoye. We have got to Shojin, and again, feeling like he doesn't need the Endless Hunger, just more damage, basically. And Shojin does that very well into a team that isn't going to be that resist heavy, so you don't need the Cyrildas or whatever. You can just try and...
The HP is pretty good here too, because he gives you an extra 400 HP. You get the Endless Hunger, and then like you start to really pop off. Though in this kind of game, maybe you do need the Armor Pen forth. 1xN kind of does need to go man mode this game, because I don't really think the rest of LNG are stepping up to the plate to win the team fights with a huge CC. That is a 7-level advantage from Tongyuan over missing. That is kind of despicable. That is something which, yeah, that's a Rod of Ages for you. That's a Rod of Ages.
Two levels in mid alone, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, he's been farming a lot and has the Rod of Ages, so one of them will come from that, the other one will come from side laning.
2 levels top as well, actually, though she does just clip over to 16, which is a fairly significant break point as well. It's got the Sterex, which I think is probably wise into the CC chain. I imagine that's followed into a wit's end for all of the tenacity reduction, all of the tenacity rather. 1xN should be able to nab away a few more of those minions and continue to try and farm their way to relevance. Xiaoye is at 3 items, however, himself, and that's going to be slightly problematic. A minute till Dragon makes this a fairly significant breakpoint in the game.
Yeah, so most people heading towards the 2.5 to 3 item points. A lot of the gold lead again is on the Twisted Fates, and most of the rest of the map is fairly even, although Tongyuan is also really scary. I don't think he's going to quite get himself Actualizer. If he can, that's huge for him. 3 item rise. That's someone that can actually out DPS the Ezreal in the right spot. Croco now trying to find someone out on the side lane. Birdall has Flash. He has his ult too.
Does need to be a bit away. He's going to get the chance to gate. Flash is away. Flash with a stun. CC chain is good. Will not get chance to gate, and they get the kill. No way to turn to Baron at this point. Though again, 30 seconds till the next Dragon makes this a bit spicy. Ryze going to shove for that tier 2.
He is, but now the TF is going to be dead for the Dragon spawner. They can just one-man that. They can recall, just send the Trundle down to solo the Dragon on spawn, because I mean the TF's going to be dead for a little bit longer on that point, and he's used his ultimate too, so he can't teleport back out onto the map. LNG will they're making sure that, oh yeah, they are, Sam. Wow, okay, I thought that they'd be just checking for vision, but instead they're going for the Baron themselves.
1xN, they spot it now. They'll have an idea. They're going to think about resetting. Hangers around will be able to drive through the wall if needed.
Okay, so Misfortune might try and take up position behind the Baron pit and try and ult over Y6 Court.
Has to flash. Now Xiaoye's potential danger. The bullet time's there, but it's not that great. Actually, the Impale also sucks. Y6 in danger. Depth charges, but the Mega Gnar into the wall leaves the front line in danger. This time the combo is torn apart before it can begin, and LNG can turn back to the Baron with everyone else not there to help out.
I don't think YCX needed to step up that far, Sam. I really think that the Nautilus being able to disrupt has been a big part of the game plan for LGD. LNG get a huge series of picks. They will get the Baron. They're going to give up the Dragon for it. LGD will get onto Chemtech's Soul Point, threatening that Soul later, but LNG can now control the map, Sam. They can push in. They can stop these double globals getting much done. About 1,000 HP off, but still, look for the steal attempted 1xN. You should try anyway, right?
No smite, right? So that's the reason I was a little nervous.
Yeah, but again, just about 1,000 HP off, so close, but no Dragon in this case. The Y6 should not be walking up like that, and I think that also the Misfortune, I think you actually have to be positioned, just behind the wall and try and play around the back of the Baron pit. That's one of the big things about the Misfortunes. You can kind of throw that bullet time over the back of the pit. Red side Misfortune's been very famous for that. And right there, I just think that LGD panicked. I think they panicked, and that's ended up losing them their heads.
It has a bit, and now they're going to find themselves in a potentially precarious position, because the side lane pressure they did have gets a lot harder to manage into Baron minions.
For sure. And now LNG, can they start to lead a bit of a siege? I mean, their siege is basically Trundle Pillar and Ezreal skill shots. It's not necessarily the best that way. Bulldog has Protobelt, no flash to force the engage. He's going to stack up in mid lane. Tongyuan was just pushing up top lane. Again, like, this Ryze has been really scary, and he does have the 3 items. Maybe the Ryze can do something big with the Realm Warp, but they're going to lose some towers before that happens.
The idea, I think. You can see in the picture-in-picture, Birdall's going to keep shoving up there and get that. The thing is, it's going to get traded, so he's still trading up in turret. Our LNG, the Impale's wide, hangs now. Actually, potentially, there's a bit of danger. So is Xiaoye. My God, 1xN nearly takes him out through Jump Barrage.
Oh!
bounces the flash. Even got tagged there despite that flash, but is going to get to live this time around. All the while, Birdall looking for inhibitors of his own. Still going to lose at least 2 here in trade, which isn't looking that great for LGD.
Yeah. Birdall, you need to get back. He's teleporting behind them with his roll quad teleport. Then he's going to ult into the play potentially too. Here comes the Twisted Fate. 2 inhibitor turrets down. Shire's summon is down. Birdall now on the flank.
No idea where he is, but they're going to try and hunt for him now. The frozen domain comes on down. Inhibitor is there. They spot out that ward and going to reset here with no one looking to interrupt. So damage somewhat done. They don't get the inhibitor turret back. They don't get the inhibitor back. They lose 2 inhibitors, and the game looks a lot harder now for
It
LGD.
does. Yeah, Birdall was trying to go for an inventive flank, but we've not really seen the Twisted Fate be able to take that side lane gold lead into anything big, and now Sheer has actually completely evened up the gold effectively in the top lane matchup. 1xN, 1,000 gold ahead himself. He has 4 items, building towards the last item, Endless Hunger, or a 5th item rather. I mean, AD carries have got the extra on to work with. He's got himself the Cyrillas in as well. Successful Baron. YCX has no flash. He is dead.
Nice from 1xN there, by the way, to get that auto onto the Blast Cone as YCX was trying to escape in the Nautilus. With some near escapes early on, just isn't having any more fun with it. Now they get to look for this tier 2 top lane with the last dregs of this Baron.
I appreciate the follow of their rival as well. Hope you're having a good time. And if anyone else is lurking around or wants to follow and join in on the LPL action, we would appreciate any kind of support. Give us 1xN his jump. Of course, he's jumping forward again. He flashed from the level 1 and he hasn't really stopped at all. Sam, he's going to do significant damage if he's allowed to keep hitting these Qs.
Yes, and going to get gold carded here. And my fellow 1xN enjoyer is in chat and Slayer, the man who Cadril calls Freak. It's kind of fun. Oh, freak-like. Specific. There's in the caster, not a freak, which would be very mean. But
wow, Cage was calling people freaks. What are you saying, Sam? What the hell, man?
Bad clip! Bad clip!
What the hell? That's just not fair. Hey, well, we are the original 1xN enjoyers over here, so we welcome people into our church, as 1xN has had an incredibly aggressive game over here. Too much like, watching him back in the LDL. He's grown up so much, Sam. Oh, he's gotten so big. They grow so fast. I mean, 1xN, like, he stood out all the way back from when we were watching him LDL, and he is destined for greatness here in LPL. I know he's just in Group Nirvana. We definitely do ham it up a little, but this guy genuinely is a great AD carry, and there are moments, even in Group Nirvana, on teams like LNG, which, you know, we're not sure how far they'll go. This guy is the standout piece of this team.
He is to the inhibitor turret that remains for LGD, not for long, it's gone. Inhibitor now under siege and about to fall. The hook lands, but it's onto a minion now. Y6 has to flash away from the focus. Resolve. Tango will step forward, get a rune prison, but I don't know whether they're adhering to the law particularly here. Oh my god, Birdall does get the kill onto Sheer. Will not die from the minions. That's actually potentially significant. Big 1v1 kill.
It is, but all 3 inhibitors still go down. So LNG will be getting double super minions in their lanes. LGD will have to deal with them as it comes through to the Dragon Storm. I mean, Birdall doesn't have ult, doesn't have flash. All goes, he will die, so it ends up technically being a standard 1-for-1. And Sam, Birdall dies later, so he's not going to be alive for the Dragon.
No, he's not. Tango gets to come back in. Actually, with those 2 top players down, the 4v4, I think I still favor LNG to keep shoving, but how do you stop them from going to the turrets? You are outranged fairly heavily here. You got 1 bullet time and a dream.
Need to. The hook lands, not bad. Here comes Tongyuan.
But there's still a lot of shielding. They do get that kill, but the Impale does very little. Crocker with the Subjugate makes Heng look very squishy indeed. The Mystic Shot goes wide. Tanguan is bloody scary with the Actualizer, but YCX is blasted. Tanguan gets to try and run away, but Flash for the chomp, and Xiao is taken out as well. Flash from 1xN. This one makes a lot more difference. A double at the very end. Make that the triple to 1xN. 1x marks the spot, and game 1 goes LNG's way.
I will switch it over to 3xN for the final bit. The triple for the Ezreal leads off what was an incredible aggressive game from 1xN. We'll ignore the level 1 flash. Well, just forget about that. Be flash for no attack. It's fine. Start as you mean to go on. 1xN ends up really leading the charge here, basically. Okay. Anyway, we're going to get ourselves into game. We'll hear those gyres and we'll get into things.
Go. A little bit limited on our LGD fans here in Suzhou today. One just playing around this bush. Worth noting, actually, there was something I wanted to point out. What was it? I forget. Oh no, that's a bad sign. Either way, be a flash blown from Heng at level 1. He's gone over the back of the Baron pit.
Okay, he's doing something pretty funky here. He's going to be spotted now, so they'll spot him. There you go. They have information onto him that Heng is going to be into topside jungle of LNG. Crocker will get the Raptors. Now, if he heads back over this ward, he will be seen. So this will be a level 2 to level 2 fight, which technically the Nocturne should win. So Hung needs to get this smite and something, but he doesn't have flash. How can he get out? He's going to have to level up his W. Crocker can go for the smite steal, maybe.
Oh boy, there will be the smite now taken, but here comes the fear. It's not going to be allowed to stick around, but he's still on the darkness path. That means with the Dustbringer and the autos, Heng's now in so much danger.
There's no red buff. The Q's missed. I actually think Croco is... Well, hang on. He does have his Fierce coming up now, so he can use it now. Can Hung get away?
Doesn't look like he can. Another Dustbringer will be able to potentially W over wall, but it will be followed quite happily with a flash. Heng's going to potentially fake out with the Warrior Trickster. Doesn't fake or doesn't burn the flash. Can now flash if he needs to. Just waiting for that ability to keep chasing. He doesn't want to burn his own flash if he can help it. Will now do it. Gets the kill, and that early flash from Heng is immediately punished.
Very good defensive ward. Now, one of the things that we learned at first stand is that early jungle wards are the most important thing in the game right now for many teams. Teams like Anyone's Legend weren't doing them right, and they looked very, very bad from it. Teams like BLG were doing them very well, and they looked very good from it. Turns out it really changed the way you play the game. Tengu has almost lost his egg here, by the way. The Deathfire Touch brings him down so low. Bulldog's one skill shot for forcing the egg.
Yeah, he is. And again, remember last game, the Rise was well ahead of the Annie, particularly once the side laning started happening, but we have seen Cassiopeia become more and more of a blind pick option because DFT on this champion is utterly disgusting.
Yeah, look, early on into the lane, just the Onivia can't do anything versus the Cassiopeia. Another Q lands, that's egg. That's egg, there you go. Egg down for free, another skill shot lands. Tongaran has been farming at Q range. Last game, he got the better of Bulldog after, an early play went his way in the mid jungle versus him, and it's not like Wukong can bail him out. Wukong is going for the top scuttle because there's nothing left in his top side himself, right? What's he going to do? Maybe he can go for a Gromp steal on the other side, but Crocker gets to walk over, potentially look for some more camps.
He's going to go try and steal these wolves. He's already gotten that bot side scuttle crabs. I think Crocker's saying, look, even if you come and trade this out, I'm going to be up in camps, and my camps are going to be on much better timers than yours.
Yeah, well, he's going to take... He took away the blue buff. He's going to take away top side. Now, what Nocturne can do is take away entire enemy bot side and go to his own one there, and he's effectively an entire quadrant up. I have to say, it's been a while since it feels like counter jungling has actually been like a really big impact in jungle, but now over the last couple of months it's come back in Storm, and I really love the way that junglers are being kind of rewarded for their pathing like this again.
That's the one. We'll keep a bit of a play around this bot side. I think volume should be okay, Darren. As far as I can tell, everyone else can hear stuff, so theoretically should be fine, but thank you for the heads up in chat. Poco will actually get to go over to his red side, as noted, having already nabbed away a couple camps top side, and not overstay his welcome in top lane, not knowing where the Wukong was. They know now because it was a ward on Raptors, because Bulldogs had all this early shove, was able to ward Raptors. And guys, if you do have shove in lane, rather than just warding your line bushes on the side of the lane, getting a ward into Raptors, getting a ward over towards something like the Phalites in the river, really, really good way of getting more defensive options, because you know where the jungler is. He will have to stop by camps at some point.
Just look at the vision into the jungle here again, though. Just spotting him out on Gromp. There's one on Raptors as well. Hung is, he's within okay amounts of CS for now, but the next clear is not going to be particularly easy for him. And we did say that the Wukong is really important to LGD. He is their CC in the team fight. He is a lot of their ability to kind of blast open the starting phases of any kind of fight which LGD want to look for later into the game. If he's behind, it's a problem. And this is why Nocturne is so high prio when it comes through to LPL right now. Now, I saw that a lot of people are complaining about Razork and Fnatic picking out the Nocturne because the combos weren't good. But realistically, even they were playing it for the early prio. The problem is for not all LEC teams, because I think G2 or KC and a couple of other teams, Mad Lions, right, can play around, sorry, not Mad Lions, MKOI, can play around jungle advantage. They can pick the Nocturne and be rewarded for it. Here in the LPL, that is exactly why you play it. Even if the Nocturne is not good into the enemy team in mid and late game, you still pick it because it destroys the enemy jungler at level 1, and that's enough of a win condition for our LPL junglers. And I think we have the best junglers in the world here, Sam.
Deep invade for the Wolf respawn. Bulldogs here with the level 6. CS lead is strong in that mid lane. Heng has just said, cool, I'm not going to bother fighting for that. I'm going for the Gromp respawn.
Heng going in towards that Grand Prix spawning, as you were saying, trying to get himself some farm on the board. I mean, he's got to get himself something here, right? The Nocturne, by the way, Yorick's gone for the Cult in top lane, realized that it's a bit of a snoozer lane there, just wants to get himself up to 2 items as soon as possible. It's been a while since I've actually seen the Yorick versus the Rumble matchup. We saw it a bit last year when Yorick was a bit stronger and could kind of kill most people in lane. Took a while for people to kind of pick him up in meta, but since then it feels like the Yorik's fallen off as a Rumble quote-unquote answer, and the Ambess has kind of been picked up a bit more rather than that Yorick himself.
And now we've got the ability to potentially throw down that Crystallize and that Glacial Storm, so Tango able to get forwards in that lane a little bit. The problem is the damage is in some way done. It's a 20 CS lead already. Crocco's going to be able to smite away this dragon.
He doesn't have smite, actually.
Shouldn't get this stolen by a Blaze kick, and level 6 now for Crocco off that as well.
That smite was on cooldown. I was like, he's low HP. He would have smote if he could have done at this point. So he's going to head back in towards his Raptors now. Crocco, again, a player who plays to the limit. Lovingly we say that, and derogatorily as well. We say it both.
Well, they saw Heng go into the jungle looking for that Gromp, so they kind of had the ability to know, well, I can go Wolves, Skullcrab, and then just do Dragon with the bottom mid prio. This should be doable, be very hard to come and contest, and it was, and that also got Crocco level 6 off the Dragon, so now he's in a pretty good spot here, has gone back for the Tunneler, has got some boots. This first ult of the game should be pretty problematic.
Yeah, he's not getting himself to Hex Plate, like, immediately off of that first ultimate. And of course, that's when the game starts to get really, really nasty. He does have one Ultimate Hunter stack already from that first blood in the jungle matchup. And look, I understand that it's not a lots of early kills, and some people really find that a little, I suppose, boring for, like, the meta. I find this very interesting, though, because it's still action. It's just in a more cerebral way. And it's not like we don't have confrontation. It just feels like it really is about that kind of, like, very kind of in-depth kind of jungle pathing and, you know, the thinking jungler's game.
It does look like basically mid and jungle is where we've seen the lead for LNG right now. Other lanes basically even. The Cull's basically the same in bot lane. Out comes that Petrifying Gaze attempt. Tango just about there with that backstep and will survive, but is again left remarkably low here. Has got the egg back, so wasn't left to drop that, but still a lot of good fun.
Yeah, I mean, these Swifties are helping Bulldog to get some good value there. Crocco might head over for his first ult of the game, actually. Walking over towards these now. 2 will go over to LGD, and they'll back off successfully.
We have another one back. I'm assuming the smite will be there from Crocco. Indeed it is, so it only ends up being the 2 for 1. But hey, Grub's still largely picked up by LGD, and considering the game state, not the worst thing to see happen.
Hello, sympathy over in Inovia's chat. And by the way, folks, if you are in any of our 3 chats we have open right now, which is both on Twitch, YouTube, and then Onivia's restream on YouTube as well, we do like to pay attention to chats. If you have anything you want to add to the cast, or just want to say hi, we'll say hi back sometimes. I mean, not in a team fight. Well, even then, sometimes we have done that too, actually, if you drop a gift bomb. Hey, I'm just saying.
You can get our attention.
You know, we're like the most interactive League of Legends cast that's live in the LPL right now. Trying to make it as niche as possible. Like, how do I cover my outs here? Oh god, Equalizer onto Sheer. It's trying to burn down the Maiden, actually, and it's going to do a pretty good job of that. The Maiden loses 2/3 the HP.
Let's get the Dark Procession down now, and Birdall's going to end up eating a lot of grubs, and a bit of a suck there from the Maiden is causing a bit of danger as well.
Not that.
No, not Maiden. No, there's no new noises.
No, oh, thank god.
Tubby custard.
Tubby custard.
The Commonwealth folks get it.
Yeah. God, you know, it's like the baby in you know this so for those of you who are Teletubbies, Teletubbies, any of you Teletubbies enjoyers out
That's there. The Teletubbies fandom.
Yeah, the Teletubbies. Yeah. For any of you who watched that and remember, like, you know, the son, which was the baby, they're obviously now an adult now, which it makes me feel existential dread. So
yeah,
what do you mean they can also grow and age like the rest of our, you know, impermanent existence?
No, the Maiden. Actually, good damage back there. That gets a bit spicy. Should just about be all right. The turret won't quite kill her.
The Maiden lives! The Maiden lives!
That's wild.
The Maiden lives. That's crazy. And if you recall, it does end up healing up too, because it kind of benefits from the fountain, much like you do as well. All right, Sheer keeps the ultimate alive, and it means that it's still off cooldown. I think Birdall should have actually invested a little bit more to kill that, because it does go on cooldown for like 2 minutes at first rank.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big deal. Also forced Birdall to reset with the wave crashed under his turret, so he ends up losing a few more minions. Shear's actually played out this laning phase versus the Rumble pretty well. He's had shove. A significant amount of the game is up.
Well, chat has made a decree, Sam. The game is too slow. Crocco must therefore press R twice in very quick succession and fly towards his doom. All right, come on, Crocco. Press R twice.
Sunday.
Let's fly into the Sunday. We have decreed it so. The Swiftest boots and the Q are really helping here. I think, actually will take decent damage from the Cassiopeia here too, despite the fact that it is only just on the Catalyst.
Crocco's come up top, still no equalizer. Thank you for the follow. Just before teamfight breaks out, you've done well on that timing. They're going to find the fear. Doesn't even have to burn the ult. Gets the flash off the Rumble. Happy enough with just that.
Has to be the early flash there too. Trade of ultimates now on bot side. One saying skips to the side, but is losing the trade here.
Yeah, fairly heavily. That's because of the cozy campfire and the good double warm hugs gave the shields required.
Also, the big thing too is that Shai is actually going towards a brutalizer first. He's going for a shit. Is this going to be? It's the lethality item first. I thought that this was building into because the voltaic doesn't. I didn't think it built out of the brutalizer right now.
It does, I
okay,
think.
well there you go. That'll be it then. I thought that's probably is the item. It's a very strong individual item. It helps you energized too if you go towards something like the rapid fire cannon. Also helps on your abilities too. I was actually wondering if it's like an axiom arc. Because when I see the brutalizer, I'm like, oh, is that axiom arc? Like crazy, but. Yeah, Voltaic is like the item of right now, jumping on towards the Wukong.
Gonna try and get a fair amount of damage down. Out comes the Crystallize, the Cyclone traded to ult for ult, but that'll likely mean that Heng has to leave and will lose his Raptor count. Mako should be able to just nab this away. Now happy enough. Not the best ult of all time, but the damage in some ways is done. Left very low, can maybe look bot lane. Dragon is up. Is Heng gonna start this smite early on?
It is. Yeah, it will be the Cycle Sword Evolution, by the way. I was just like, wait, yeah, because the item changed, did it change the build path? And I kind of one-shot it a lot, so I kind of like forget that the Brutalize is actually in there instead of the Dirk instead. Crocker's going on to his Raptors. Doesn't really want to have any business kind of going into a 1v3 in the bot lane. Still resetting anyway. The Cull cashed in for both AD carries, so that's going to keep them even on that point there. We did speak very highly of 1xn's Nymaera beforehand. There is the Voltaic Cycle Sword from Shai. Again, it does sound like a Warhammer item, you know, much like the Chempunk Chainsword also sounds like a Warhammer 40k item. Tungian trying to stop a recall. Did it actually successfully do that? No, he didn't. Managed to get back to base then. So managed to go back for the Swift Marches, which he's now got
and the
upgraded, and the Rod of Ages,
which is a big deal. If you want that where you can get them, not quite there for Tungian, who will be still a little ways off his own rower completion. Actually, be a little bit frustrating for them. Yep. And see whether they have this on this reset here, regardless.
See something in Onivia's chat in terms of what, because I noticed this too during the play. Why didn't Crocker get knocked up by the first Wukong ult? Because when he was ulting in, you're unstoppable, and basically Hung pressed his ultimate too soon. If you catch the Nocturne mid-flight, the knock-up won't land because he's unstoppable. Then he pressed the Spell Shield after, and basically, if you press Spell Shield in the middle of a DOT ability, it won't proc. So it won't proc on, like, if Morgana W's you, and then you press Spell Shield, it won't proc. Or the same kind of thing with like a Malzahar E or something like that. So then you have what the Spell Shield would have done is block the recast of the R if it had come through during the duration of it. But because the first one hit him while he was still unstoppable, flying in with the Paranoia, it doesn't get that knock up, nor does it the DOT after effectively, because it's a damage over time ability. That ultimate at that point, it won't proc the Spell Shield after.
You still take damage, obviously, but you're not going to get CC'd, which is a fairly big win in the grand scheme of things. But LNG right now, up 2,000 gold, largely just off the early laning phase. The only place it's a bit more even is this bot lane, where there's a slight lead to Shaoya.
So I've had an errant thought. Hang on a second. There's a trade happening in mid lane here. Bulldog doing quite well there. You don't like those? What do you mean, Sam? These are the best things I've provided.
Well, it's because at this point, I think we should be questing thoughts. We're past the
thought
errant
look, Sam,
stage about a
this
nightly
was
career.
hang on, bird ult. Getting hit there. No, it was a. Hang on, that's going to be the maiden just about living again there, actually.
Into the river we need to go. You may have to hold on to your errant thought.
Oh, well, I'll tell you that later. Okay, 1xn has his ultimate backup. The Cycle Sword Lucian is scaring me, though, Sam.
There's the Paranoia. Milio's left. Real low. Isaac is down. There's a Paranoia. And the Petrifying Gaze is dangerous. I got 2p ultimate. Slightly confused, so I yelled Paranoia twice. But maybe they should be, because they're right. They were out to get them. Specifically, the Cassiopeia, who comes away with the triple kill.
1xn forces Shai to dash away from him into the Petrifying Gaze. So 1xn and Bulldog end up throwing the team between the two of them. It's an alley-oop slam dunk from the carries of LNG, and the Cassiopeia walks away with the triple as missing. Congratulations, finds himself on the 7th most all-time assists within the LPL. A massive milestone for himself as he hits himself that crazy amount there. LNG walk away with a one-team fight, and LGD, they're going to be really on the ropes now. So I'm giving that many amount of kills over this early is a problem. So watch this again. Like, Y6 has to flash away, and look at this. Yes, has to dash away from the 1xm. Nymaera as well tries to dash into Bulldog, goes straight to his death. Bulldog and 1xn clean up the team fight.
They do at that, and again, Bulldog coming away with a triple kill is absolutely disastrous because the Cassiopeia has already been winning the lane. She's not going to go back and have the majority of a Seraphs.
Okay, errant thought was,
yes.
So Crown Stealer in chat said, Crocker, buddy, you can do it. And I thought that sounded quite similar to Bo Burnham.
Yeah, you can do it.
Press R. You know, put your back and do it. You know, basically, Bo Burnham.
Hit that Q, press that E.
Basically, Bo Burnham's Jeff
Keep
Bezos.
on doing it till I'm watching.
No, Sam, it has gone too far now. We have not workshopped the lyrics. That's why I said it's an errant thought, not just I've designed a song. You know, not quite there. There we go. Put your back into it, Croco.
That's the paranoia. There we go. Does not get exactly what they were looking for there. The blue buff comes on down. Unfortunately, it's a hex plate, so it'll be all right. There's still a little while until the next dragon, so should be up in time for dragon number 2 of the game. Well, for either team.
Jeff Bezos could never, Sam. He can fly into the backline like that for the good of education.
Yeah.
He couldn't do that. Only Croco could, or anyone else actually playing Nocturne in this case. But he has himself a good amount of Ultimate Hunter stacks. I think he's got 2 because one of them was onto Hung's Wukong, of course. Only the 3 people have died. But Croco, I think, missed out on one of those, so he only has the 2 ult Hunter stacks, but the Hexplay helps him too. Bulldog farming down here doesn't have Flash, does have Ultimate.
Does indeed. Will have the ability to potentially put down a fair amount of CC. Bulldog's likely going to die here, but Heng's going to die on repeat, so it'll be a 1-for-1.
It is. Bulldog doesn't hit the ultimate stun. Probably would have died anyway. I think Tongyuan could have got the cleanup damage. Goes 1-for-1. Bulldog with 4 kills is nasty as heck. However, shutdown gold does go to Tongyuan. That is worthwhile noting. It's not an even 1-for-1.
Yeah, they're still going to lose the Herald, though, as trades. That makes things a bit more interesting. 5 seconds until Dragon. I'll also note that because Heng is dead, they can't immediately set up for this Dragon, and they burned a number of ultimates to make that play happen. Croco will have his own ult up. Bulldog down his will have his TP. Culling comes on down onto 1xN, but he gets a bit of a shield and should be all right there with the Whimsy. But Culling down, and I think 1xN and Missing will be happy enough to stick around. A little bit frustrating, but not the end of the world. No, I take it back. The reset's coming on 3, but did obviously get involved with the Herald, so it's the empowered reset. Not quite the majority of the, or not quite the entirety rather, of the Hexblade I'm seeing. Is Zeal and Slingshot the build path for Fiend Hunter?
Yes, it is.
It is,
yep.
okay.
So, he'll be going towards that Fiend Hunter. Yep, that one. The Battle Herald being summoned over the wall. That could be very useful. See if he can use that to escape later. The wall's pretty good. Is he flying anyway? Yes, he does. Doesn't get the smite, and now he has potential. Herald needs to survive.
Does get in, but the fear comes off anyway. Heng gets knocked up, and that's a lot of damage now down onto the Wukong, who will die. So successful pickup onto that will drive on him. We'll need to start running away, though. He's getting a shield and should be all right. So lose Dragon, get killed, get charged onto mid-tower.
I mean, that's a pretty good use of the Herald, but the wall from Tongyuan ends up making that a very hard position to play. Bulldog doesn't actually turn up to the play at all, so this is overall strategic win for LNG. Lose the Dragon, but you do get the hit onto mid-turret, you get a lot more gold onto Bulldog as well, and you get the kill. You're pretty happy with the monetary kind of gain you had despite losing the Dragon.
We're up 4,500 gold, nearly 5,000 gold now. Bulldog is monstrously fed, as actually is Croco.
Something that Slayer came into chat to say earlier is that, Bulldog needs to really work on his consistency, and I think that's been a recurring theme for him. I think particularly because the champion pool's been so slim as well, it's also trying to say, well, can he just do it outside of like a Tristana meta or, a couple of the limited mages that he plays, see whether he can kind of gain that consistency. He was picked up, of course, this year by LNG, came back over from the LCK, spent 1 year in LPL, 1 year in LCK, back to the LPL now. He's been bouncing around. Sorry, no, Bulldog hasn't. That was Crocker, rather, who did that. But Bulldog kind of came over from the LCK for the first time himself there. But, a player, he's been a bit more of a journeyman, really. Kind of bouncing between mid to bottom tier teams within LCK and then the LPL as well. And again, that had that real spark of life when it came to the AD carry mid meta because he was so good at that Tristana and struggled to find champions to match that level of play beyond that.
That makes sense. Speeds away from the culling, so should be okay there. Worth noting, it's not the rapid fire or whatever second, it's the Essence Reaver, so a little bit more staying power, and obviously can get that Sheen proc plus Voltaic nastiness on the double taps.
Yeah, well, I mean, abilities will proc the Voltaic Tube, so you'll just get it from a bunch of different stuff. Once again, walking forward to the E. Here comes Croco!
Polymorph, and they go over the wall. The Wild Growth after Xiaoyi and YCX find themselves in the dirt. Heng will try and turn this around, but a flash out from 1xN. Does end up in melee range of a Rumble, which is a bit alarming. Will likely die, but does a fair amount of damage before he comes on down. And Sheer is also here, making this a bit more interesting. They lose 2 under the turret, so it's currently a bit of a mess. Birdo trying to run away, but the ghouls are still chasing him. Bulldog in a 1v1 that he's actually struggling a little bit with on top of the Onivia, who needs to wall, but the ghouls will bring down the egg. Indeed, they get the egg, but again, hasn't yet to die. Can Sheer find a Dark Procession? Doesn't look like he'll find it, so it'll end up being, I want to say, 2 for 3 in favor of LGD, but they they do lose the turret, everyone and their mother's turned up there.
So they don't get the shutdown on the Cassiopeia. That would have made it into a much more palatable play. I mean, the Cassiopeia just flashed over the wall to, like, miasma ult them, Sam. It wasn't just the Nocturne flying into the game. Bulldog's getting involved with it, too. It was a great initial collapse. It only really got saved by Hung flying back into the play under turret to make sure that cycling got so much value. LGD, it wasn't a bad response. It's just a shame they don't have the extra gold to really play with. They might run at Cassiopeia top lane now. He might have overpushed. Bulldog needs to be quite careful here.
He's pretty fast, actually, so should be able to get out there. TP now box, they're going to turn the favor onto Bulldog.
So we've had a couple of side lane planes here, not able to stop that teleport back to base, and Rumble will get out. So both side laners realizing, overpushed a little bit. Cross map was incoming, but both of them kind of slipped the news. So we'll watch this play again as Crocker's waiting for the play. They jump forwards. The big thing is the Cassiopeia. Look at this for Bulldog. This flies over the wall. No counterplay on that. The world growth comes through too. And then things get really weird because they continue to play. And I think that they could have just hit the turret, to be honest. I think you could have just auto-attacked the turret. You would have been maybe fine. If you attack the turret, manage to get out, I think that is a much better play for them, actually.
I always think 1xm probably chose the wrong way out. Flash to get into the jungle, thinking he could play from there, but actually end up in melee range of, like, the Wukong and the Rumble rather than going towards the turret, which I think might have made things a bit more even. That does shrink the gold lead somewhat, it must be said. Minute or so until the next dragon. Another turret goes down, and that will bring the gold down just a touch again. Still very solid lead to LNG, who are largely favoured to win this game.
At this point, 6 kills on the Cassiopeia. I mean, if Cassiopeia dies, it's a big shutdown to get over, and, you know, if there's a good enough Cyclone, Glacial Storm, and the Equalizer, probably does kill him pretty quickly. Does have a decent amount of HP from the Royal Eyes, and the Rod of Ages, and the shield from the Saras 2, and Lulu's going to be helping them survive as well. I mean, as much as pre-game we were talking about 1xn's Nymaera being a big factor, I think he's played that relatively well. Has actually been Bulldog's Cassiopeia, which has been the main character of this game. Despite Crocker's very good early jungle pathing, it has been about the snake in the mid game.
I also think Royal Eyes is going to be really obnoxious because it's very difficult to cleanse that, and actually now you've got people like the Wukong, the Onivia. I mean, basically everyone is actually a threat from the Royal Eyes in terms of wanting to play at particular ranges. Bulldog just gets that tick up to level 10 from the Roa as well. Crocker hanging around. They are looking to threaten people coming into this. Both Bulldog stepping forwards, looking for a Noxious Blast, can't quite find it. Crocker also off vision here. Noxious Blast just being thrown out as Birdol also just coming around this corner. Everyone is here for this dragon fight.
Yeah, there you are. LNG, again, have the combat stats in the advantage. Bulldog doesn't have Flash. LGD really need to make sure that Cassiopeia is taken down.
Sheer just took a lot of damage. That's unfortunate. Doesn't have the TPI either. A little bit unfortunate for him. The Arc of Ruin from 1xn as he's ulted.
Yeah, but Tunguan just flashed as well. So the Onivia flash backwards didn't have that passive. So despite the fact that Sheer went low, he gets the Honey Fruit in there. Tunguan getting another good storm down.
Paranoia comes on down. The Wild Growth doesn't save him. They're going to try and blow up Hang regardless, but it's the clone they hit a lot of damage onto. He will finally fall. Bulldog looks like a try and but a good, relentless pursuit away keeps him safe. The Flash Frost lands onto 1xn. He's not doing damage, and Sheer needs to flash. He's in danger, but there's whizzing around. The Crystallize keep people split off. The Maiden's doing a lot of work as Birdol has got a weird angle on his Flame Spitter. Bulldog trapped inside the Glacial Storm. Y6 also desperately low. Not great news for the Enchanter.
Yeah, Crocker. Y6 died to the ghouls. YCX goes down. So it actually ends up being a 2-for-1, despite what I thought was a very good play from Tunguan, missing around the side, but Sheer's going low.
Flash for the Polymorph. They're going to try and make this play. They do kill down Sheer. That's unfortunate. Xiaoya gets turned into a snowman, but Missing's now in danger himself. Gets caught in the Glacial Storm, the Flash Frost after, and now Bulldog's in danger. It's a bit of a mess. They thought they had the pick, and it went wrong.
Yeah, I think Missing makes a huge mistake there. Initially, it was a very good team fight, but he flashes, doesn't get in range for the Lucian, then polymorphs when the Lucian's out of range, and then dies afterwards because he goes into the Onivia Glacial Storm. Tunguan has had an incredible fight around here. I think LNG just going to sleptwalked into this fight, got walled a couple of times into the Glacial Storm. The Malignance builds up for that early power on that burst, and now the Onivia's walking away 3-0. Tunguan's actually managed to recover a huge amount here. First good wall comes in here. There's no flash on the Nocturne, goes down very quickly, and I just don't think they were ready to contest that from that angle. You know, 1xn and Sheer and a bunch of other people get good damage down here, but it just feels like you're just waiting for the next wall to come down from the Onivia. Missing and Sheer do somewhat outplay Birdol at the start. Here's a good W from 1xn as well, but even then, just 1xn gets another Q onto him. Ghouls end up killing YCX as the dart. It's the goop over the wall, which ends up killing him. It means that the ghouls end up re-aggroing and jumping towards him. But every time this play goes on, just watch the next wall. It's another great one here where Bulldog and Sheer get pulled away. Missing, look, that polymorph does nothing. And then he's just stuck in the play. Sheer, I understand the angle, but it just really doesn't work out.
Yeah, because I think if the Dark Procession had landed just with that polymorph, you get the Lucian trapped in the cage, life feels good, you can blow him up. That doesn't happen, and then YCX, or rather, Missing ends up a bit.
Hang on, Equalizer.
Redemption comes on down. 1xn I think should be okay here, but that's a lot of damage just about okay is missing. Voltaic Cyclosword is stinging on this Lucian build into a squishy comp.
He's got the crits in there for the Essence Reaver and the Noon Quiver as well. Great damage. Missing is going to stick around a little longer. You see that LNG, they're getting contested pretty heavily here now.
Bulldog looks at the Petrifying Gaze. It's a little bit ambitious, I think it's fair to say, and that turret will likely fall.
LNG cannot afford to take front to backs now. They need a second angle. I think the problem is now that they're just getting outranged by Electro Harpoons, and the glacial storm really is really causing some issues with the Flash Frost as well. They need to open up a second angle. The fact that they kind of sat there in the 5v5, I think is really worrying now, Sam. LNG, not always our best problem-solving team when it comes to these more kind of intricate games. They're better at kind of just mechanically outplaying you. And in this kind of team fight, if you're going in the front to back, very hard to do so.
Fairness, they managed to do some good problem solving in the last game with some good side lane collapses onto Birdall. Birdall is 3-0 now, and actually the Rumble has been pretty problematic. Just a very strong champion in general at this point, but between the Equalizers and the Glacial Storms, the Bloodletter's Curse on a couple here, very easy to shred out that MR. Lord Dominic's Regards just got done for Xiaoya as well, so even people like Sheer, Croc have got a bit of HP to their name. Even the Cassiopeia actually has got the Rower and stuff, and the Ryalize don't have a lot of resist, so that Giant Slayer passive is going to really sting versus those champions.
And one of the things that we said in draft was, you were worried about this kind of zone control, and I thought that, well, LNG, they do actually have the ability to press the go button. Thought that they would be able to make their way out of that. I'm just a little bit worried that they're just kind of sleepwalking their way into a couple of these kind of neutral contests where it's just about the long-range skill shot landing. And that's meant that they've not really used their tools available to them to force the issue before the next wall comes down from Tongyuan. And now if they do go in and the Onivia gets to kind of just put down the R on top of an area where, Crocker flies into or 1XM kind of jumps forwards into as well, it can be a bit of an issue. One missing there.
Still eats one auto and loses a third of his HP bar. This Voltaic Cyclosword has actually been quite nasty as this game's gone. It's got the red buff, but again, one of the issues you run into on the Unara is you really struggle to get Omni-Vamp into your builds. Has gone, or just vamp into your builds. Gone the steel caps this game. Somewhat understand it into things like the Wukong. We're going to see a two-man start on the Baron, though.
We are, and I mean, they do have a decent amount of burn. You've got the clones tanking as well. They don't understand. I mean, they understand the threat now. They're teleporting in with the Cassiopeia. Sheer's going to walk over. Nocturne can always fly at the objective too, and that means that they've peeled off. LGD will walk away, just taking the teleport summoner. LNG, again, struggling to find their own aggressive plays. The gold lead's getting smaller and smaller, and that Lucian, as you noted, is kind of getting a bit scary.
Ooh, that's good damage back, though, so it ends up being Paranoia broken. Are we going to go in? We are! Redemption after Wild Growth on 3! Petrifying Gaze, and now the damage connects! Well done from LNG as they finally find the angle they're looking for. They lose a Nocturne to the Onivia, and that makes things a bit spicier. Birdall flashing out a potential threat, but now LNG, with a couple kills onto the carries, can turn back towards the Baron.
There you go. They found their engage. Took them a little while. Now, they don't have a smite, whereas LGD do. Wukong's going to come out of base. Dragon's up in a minute. It would be Cloud Soul if they do give this over. Dark Procession not going to land. The Morning Mist does. Now, what do? So they get a 2-for-1. They were thinking about going Baron. They peel off of it, and now they're going to have to reset for the Dragon, and they're going to have to try and do that again. I think with all summoners down, I think it favors LGD because they have the extra walls and stuff, right? 1XN, really good trade. They're onto the Lucian, just kind of does it himself, forces everyone to play defensively, and the Bulldog gets the flash for a ults and a miasma. Wild Growth as well. There you go. There's your AoE engage.
Yeah, but you also then lose the passive off of the Onivia here as well, which is quite significant. They're a lot more vulnerable. You get the flash barrier off the Lucian, who's also going to have a lot less fun. There's a lot of flashes down in general. The only person with a flash I can see right now is Tanyu, unless I'm missing. Crocker's also got his, which is fairly significant. Walls come on down. Sheer somewhat trapped up, but he's tanky enough at this point to back away. Missing in danger. The culling, the Wild Growth keeps him alive, and they can't quite get it. Paranoia comes on down after the Equalizer. Into the player we go. Crocker wins the smite fight. Birdall goes golden. Petrifying Gaze is very, very unneeded there, but they'll still bring down the Rumble. A little bit good work there as Crocker still trading in the pit, doing a fairly annoying job versus Hang Flashes. Now he's got a blast cone, should be okay. Bulldog with the Twin Fangs brings down the Enchanter. The Flash Frost there. Xiaoya goes down, and he's also going to trade out, at least for the Cassiopeia, but it's a triple kill to 1XN, who can maybe hunt for a little more. The Glacial Storm is still obnoxious, and Tangyuan survives, but the bird may be the word, but he has to carry it to all the families of his teammates who are dead in the ground.
Yeah, Sheer actually just teleported into mid lane there to try and catch Tongyuan, who couldn't quite land that. LGD, they've been hard forced onto twice in a row, and I think the neutral kind of sleepwalk kind of style of play, which LNG were falling prey to for a bit, has finally ended. 2 big fights in a row. It's going to be Dragon, stops the soul going to LGD. It'll be the Baron for them too, and that's going to really hurt. Now, of course, there's a good amount of wave clear on LGD. It's not going to be, I think, the end of the game necessarily. It will definitely be a big sticking point because now LNG will be able to push in the map and get a ton of ability to kind of push in. They might go for an opportunistic dive if someone is overextended and defending a tower by themselves, but I think on the whole, we'll have to see how well they deal with that wave play, even with that Baron buff. Equalizer wasn't bad, culling wasn't bad, missing's not on the right point, but you see that basically, Hung's going in, trying to get the soul by himself, but it means that the Cyclone's not there for disruption. And that is even with a bad Petrifying Gaze, which is onto a Zhonya's target, badly timed from Bulldog there. They just don't have the damage after that point. They don't have the disruption. Bulldog just has to walk at them. You're meant to have a Glacial Storm immediately on top of him. You're meant to have these Qs. And look what happens when the Onivia finally hits him. Destroys him. The Cassiopeia is very easy to get taken down. And there's a lot of gold which goes over that from the shutdown, of course, to the Onivia as well. But I mean, this is what happens when LGD don't stick to their guns and hold their position well.
Yeah, Cassiopeia gets to just gun people down. It's now got a rocket belt, by the way, to try and get on top of some of these scarier members. I approve. Has actually also then got a little bit more HP to her name.
That's genuinely so funny. That's actually fantastic. Tunyuan's actually gone for the Bloodletters as well for the extra MR shred. So he's got Malignance and Bloodletters, reducing the MR for the Rumble, because both of them do apply to both of them. Bulldog's getting caught out.
How did he end up there? That's unfortunate. The turret falls. The Morning Mist comes on down. It's still going to be the Cyclone part 2. I'm assuming it was just over the wall and not respecting stuff from Bulldog there.
So that's his third death of the game. Good amount of gold over to LGD. There's an equalizer used to clear out some of that bot wave. So the Baron power play is going to be very limited from that now. That's a bad overextension from Bulldog. Didn't have a flash available. Watch this again. I mean, he just gets Wukonged around the corner and he's in tower aggro. I mean, dude, this is a huge mistake. This is the kind, like, as we've seen, it's not the easiest game to 5v5 in. You need to full send it, and if you don't thread the needle, the Onivia will actually just kill all of you. We've seen that now from Tunyuan. Misusing your Baron buff when you have a chance to break them up, that's a problem, Sam.
Yeah, tried to blow up Xiaoya, but Xiaoya had barrier. There was Cozy Campfire and Breath of Life and all of the healing from the Milio. Just got to survive through it, and the turnaround was pretty disgusting. And that did become a problem. And again, we have started seeing that basically if YCX dies, then it's a little easier. But the enchanter value of the Milio is just providing some deceptive problems here. Still, it's still a positive Baron power play. They're still up 5,000 gold. They'll be able to pick up some more of these turrets. But Bulldog, again, some of the criticisms of this player in terms of their ability to consistently carry, brought up there again. Has also dropped that big CS lead. And that's how Tangyuan's got his own threat from this game.
Look at this. The wave clear is so crazy with Onivia and the Rumble. This is why the Baron buff was so important. They've not cracked the base with it because of the mistake from Bulldog. Now, Bulldog's been the main character. He has been the best player on LNG this game by and large, but that mistake in mid lane is such a strategically important point because, you know, that Baron buff was your way to potentially break open the base. See how much wave clear they have even with that. You know, if you don't have the Baron buff, you have no chance of approaching that base unless you kill him in an open fight.
Shear's gone Jack Show third, and he'll be going towards, I imagine, Death Dance or GA4. So he's actually getting to the point where he's a little annoying to bring down. Jack Show, and just in general, with your own healing from the Q, you're going to be slightly frustrating to bring down, actually.
I mean, the problem is if Onivia just... The thing is, like, any of these champions, if they get hit by the Glacial Storm by Onivia, it hurts. Thank you so much for the resub there, Soikrom, as well. And appreciate everyone that's showing support to the channel. Bulldog doesn't hit the Q onto Hung. There's a teleport from Yorick. Hang on a second, they really want to jump on the Wukong here.
Oh, this could get really messy. There's a grounded, and he's lost his GA in an instant. That Wukong is dead to rights. There's no way out here, and he does go down. The Cyclone means nothing. The inclement weather swiftly turns into a sunny day for LNG.
LGD make the mistake. Now, I thought the game was actually turning back around them. If the game becomes about Onivia, it's LGD's kind of game to win, I think, but by losing another death on your jungler like that, you're not going to be able to contest this soul. It's a bad death from overextending, trying to get vision for the dragon.
And look, he's 2-7. He's just not had fun this game. And again, he's gone for the Triforce. I understand it. You see what the builds are. But again, he's not tanky, has very limited MR. And again, there are so many ways to just blast you as you go in. That slight discoordination, that unfortunate duty of face checking into a comp that annihilates the first target is not going to lead to Heng having a great time here. Now loses that additional Dragon Soul point for LNG to match LGD. Baron's up in a minute and a half, and Heng's going to be down. A couple of key things there, namely that GA.
That GA would have been so important because, again, Hung's gonna look. He's been the guy who's dying for the team. The 2-7. It's look. He got a little bit rattled in the early game, right, where Crocker managed to get into his jungle. Hung, of course, died for first blood too. But realistically, that Wukong, he missed a cannon there. That's what that's what they're hovering.
-1.
Yeah, Hung.
Looks like you.
You know, he's What?
I might missed the cannon.
Okay, all right. So I'm not going to finish my analytical.
Sorry,
point
go on.
No, it's okay. You can say -1 and say it looks like me. That's fine.
Just do an exclamation mark cannon in chat,
Sure.
guys.
Yeah. Not that, you know, Hung's dying for the team and in analytical points like that. I'm taking one for the team here too. Sam makes, you know, a very questionable call there. There's a death cap for Tonguan now. You want to talk about that, or you want to talk about -1s again, Sam?
No, it's fine.
Oh, they're +1. There you go. Nice. Isn't that great?
I got the chat command out, though.
Yeah, that's great. Wonderful. Cool. Oh, wow. I mean, I've actually never reset. Look, Sam, I've been playing League of Legends for like, 13 odd years. The fact that I've only missed 56 cannons ever, that's a very good... No, not missed them, but I've stored them in a dimensional portal. You know, it's very impressive, I think.
Did you have an analytical point you wanted to get to?
No, I said that already, Sam. Did you miss that in the mist and all that?
No.
I said he was dying for the team, which is why the 2 and 7's a bit fake.
Yeah, and I agree.
No, we're on the same page. Cool. Yeah, just checking.
Okay, cool.
All right, cool.
Glad-
Baron's up now, Sam.
Yeah,
Talk about that.
true.
Talk about that.
Cool.
Cool.
Glad we agree on that point,
Yeah.
because I said something. We've got GA, no deaths down to done for Kshir. That's actually potentially important here. Would love that 4th item. Playing over this mid lane control now as the sibling bickering can forward for a second.
Baron's up and available. Dragon would be sold for either of the teams which get it now in 3 minutes' time. And again, these kind of games do tend to, well, pardon the pun, get a bit glacial when you got the Onivia wave clearing, right? Because you can just kind of stall out the game. This is actually why Baron was changed in 2015, because champions like Ziggs, Onivia, Xerath, Orianna would just wave clear for forever. You needed some way to kind of break into the base, and it turns out even with those changes, all these years later, you still can wave clear them pretty effectively. This game is about whether Tongyuan can hold the front line down. Well, jumping on towards Rumble, overextended.
He's split off, will flash away, survives. Also, big chunk there onto Xiaoye, who didn't really get that much done with his culling.
I love the fact that Bulldog was proto-belting to try and get the miasma in range. Xiaoye tried to get that culling down. Wasn't another great culling again, actually. He struggled to get that ultimate. He's recalling on Vision now too, and he'll stop that.
Morning Mist does land on the Tango, but there's no Graves around to summon any ghouls for trouble to be abounding. Level 20 is this Yorick, by the way.
Yeah, max level. That one will help, and he has his death stance. So there you go, 4 items on that. As we were calling out before, Xiaoye, need to see what happens when his culling comes back up. A few lands from Cassiopeia, always a little scary when those skill shots land.
Asma means you can't step up to defend these wards very well. 8 seconds on the... Oh, he goes 1xn! Birdo goes golden, buys a bit of time, the Breath of Life flashes. Xiaoye! Doesn't matter, he's dead! 1xn by the Wild Gun, flashes away from the Cyclone and dashes away as well the untouchable Shadow. It will not matter, he survives. Everyone else from LGD says LGG, as they are well aware that this game is done.
That is the 1xn Nymaera I wanted to see. It's going to be a death onto the Nocturne, but the Onivia won't be able to recall. 1xn has been the secondary character in this game, but he finds a way to really put himself into the limelight right at the end, jumps forward, gets a huge play to end the game.
So death cap on Tangu is going to try and recall, but I just don't think they have enough here to clear out the waves. We'll try to get beyond. The fountain will not be allowed, will be thrown down to the frying pan again. Credit to you, Tangu, and this Onivia has tried. But you know what they say about trying? It's not going to lead to success necessarily. The Vitality 2018 logo comes up one more time.
Is that what they say? Onto the riff we go. Let's hit those gyros. Oh, they're closer to the crowd mics. Gosh, okay, damn. Who is the Hank? The Hank is an LDL player that Weibo promoted up because they brought in Hung, but that didn't go well at all. The first half of the split was bad from him, though. The last... Oh, wow, Vampire missed that. He made that look easy to miss. Damn, well, everyone's missing stuff. The Foss one goes wide, too. Now, the Jhin Karma is meant to be very, very dominant, of course, but the Vampire missing that first Q over the ult is not... That's 2 Foss Bombs missed too now, Alec. Okay, so we're just having a battle of missed skill shots here. Foss Bombs missing, and the Karma Qs. It's really hard to miss Foss Bomb and Karma Q, by the way. Like, how are we, like... How are we missing these things, man? Foss Bomb finally lands there. Elk and the Hank are actually okay at this kind of HP. The fact that the skill shots are missing actually works better for Weibo than it does for JDG. Once you get a couple of levels up there, Jhin and the Karma obviously still do good damage, but the sustain starts to come through from the Nami a little bit more. That time the Q and the W do land finally, but Karma Q, Karma Shield rather, being used there. Level 2 about to hit from this minion here. Junglers on opposing paths. We had The Vi go for Raptors red, then go down to bot side. And the Fury's going for full top side into bot side clear. Elk walking forwards with the Gatling gun. That Q landed on a minion. Man, what is happening with Vampire's Q this laning phase? Normally he's been a very good Karma. It's been one of his better champions, actually. He's been very lane dominant on it. Gala and Vampire really want to have a good showing here. I mean, JDG, for some reason, Weibo's been a bit of a bogey team for them, regardless of roster. You know, last split, it was through jungle support. Junja and Vampire were not as connected, really. And it meant that they very much struggled, really, to organize the map. They get caught out in vision control. They get caught out on positioning on the map, as JJ and Urha largely outplayed them throughout that first split, as we were saying. In years past, though, of course, they had Crisp and other different supports coming through, too. It's a very different kind of roster over the years. Xiaohu versus Honkyu, and fun matchup here, too. I think that people have been very harshly rating Xiaohu. Where, yeah, so he does get hit by Q3 there. Where Xiaohu, I think, has about 2 good same games out of every 3. Then the third game is a bit of a disaster, don't get me wrong, but on the whole, I think that Xiaohu's actually been pretty good on the whole this split, especially compared to some other previous splits individually where I felt like he really started to fall off. Petition to cast JDG guy as Erwin in the Attack on Titan live action movie. Oh, we did have that famous speech. I'm not gonna lie, I watched like the first 24 episodes of Attack on Titan and I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm aware that it's been like one of the most culturally significant anime to come out for a while, and I was like, you know what, I'm actually just not enjoying this. I'm just gonna hate watch this, so I'm just not gonna watch it at this point. But same kind of thing happened with Sword Art Online. I'm like, I'm aware that people enjoy this, it's just not my thing. The W is gonna land onto Hank. He has to heal potentially here, good damage onto him. He's just gonna die. Had to flash away from the W, didn't do so. But Hank, we were worried about his laning phase and him kind of just taking his place in this series anyway. Goes down for first blood relatively easily here, sadly for him. Vampire going forwards for that W. The Hank's really not what you wanted to see from this support coming up. Another Q goes wide there from Vampire. I don't even think that Gala and Vampire have been doing particularly anything. This isn't really a high roll of a laning phase. They missed a lot of Karma Mantra Qs. They lost a lot of skill shots early. You would have thought it would have been fine, but you know, the Hang just not flashing the Jin W, not realizing how much threat he was under, goes down very easily. Can't afford to make those kind of mistakes against the bot lane, which can carry so well. Like Weibo's. Jesus, though, Xiaohu's getting good trade onto Honkyu. Has to flash away from that next Q.
Wow.
It's, well, at least there's a lane going well for Weibo in mid lane. Top lane's going fine for Zika as well. Walked away for player of the match from that last one, actually. JJ just over the wall, but Vampire roaming to make sure the Raptors are safe and secure.
Agree with that one. And again, worth noting, Honkyu, of course, did blind pick a Cassiopeia a series or so ago and did horrible things to his opposite number, forcing flashes and kills.
Yeah.
Now on the opposite end of that, down about 10 CS, and Xiao, who of course, long-time Cassiopeia enjoyer, as are I think a lot of our mid laners who've been around a little while. The Hank unfortunately is just face checked in the theory though, and loses about half their HP bar.
Now, fun thing about Xiaohu's Cassiopeia, because you said he was a long-time enjoyer of it, he never used to be a big player of it. No, the last time he played it was many, many years ago. He's not played many games of it at all. But he might just get the solo kill to Honkyu. He's getting so close.
Gonna call back now. There'll be a Q waiting, and there is. And the last auto brings low Honkyu solo kill to the old mid lane goat of the LPL.
Now, we said he's never really been like a huge player of the champion, but he's brought it out this year, and he's been doing some fantastic work on the pick. So Honkyu, I think, was quite clearly second best mid laner in the LPL. Xiaohu, as we were saying, though, I think people really underrate this guy. Every 2 out of 3 games, this guy does a lot more work than you give him credit for. Solo kill in his lane onto Honkyu.
That's a big deal as well, because JDG, yes, they are Junja focused in terms of how Junja does often is an indicator of how the rest of the team is going to end up doing. But the other part of that for me is like, look, Vampire, Gala have been on the up and up of late, kind of got away from their early split woes. But really, Honkyu has been the other star. Has been so good this split. Has been a win condition against so many teams. That's not the case right now. Elk, however, is going to tank up a lot of these curtain call bullets. Needs to be a bit aware of that 4th shot landing. Deadly Flourish could follow, and that just about backstep one. Gets to level 6 where it comes Junja. He's going to try and reset, but that's just not going to be allowed to. Eviscerate over the wall. There's the Hound's Pursuit. Elk flashes. Decent work, but the core of the pack drops turret aggro. Gala drops, takes the additional shots, and everyone backs away alive.
This bot lane is just not going well for them, is it? The Hank not flashing that W, which killed him in lane. Despite the fact that Vampire missed, I think, 2 out of his 3 first Mantra Qs of the game. Gets hit by another W there, too. I think that Elk has been very hard done by. As we said, it's his 3rd support of the year to play with, and I think the Hank is, I would say, probably the worst of them. It has been a hard situation for Elk. I don't think individually he can do much here, and I think that, you know, that play there wreaked a little bit of desperation under that bot lane turret. Weibo, I just don't know why they hamstrung themselves with so many support changes this year.
Tough. My chefing is done for a bit, because Alex kind of covered draft and stuff. Let them eat food first, say. That's fine. If you're wondering why you're hearing a little bit more of me, that's precisely why. Honkyu is not having the most fun in this mid lane. Got a load of long swords in a dream right now. Not long sword, daggers in a dream. There we go. Slightly different style of play.
So, there's a question in chat saying, why do you think Honkyu is so inconsistent? You know, sometimes he beats the best mids, other times he loses to Xiaohu. There are 2 points to this. One, Honkyu's a very, he's still a very young player. Sometimes he will just, like, make some mistakes, which some older players won't because he looks for the aggressive play. And 2, I think you're underrating Xiaohu. I think that Xiaohu is still actually a very good mid laner. I know that, like, for instance, Reddit likes to talk a lot of crap about Xiaohu, and half the time they're right. Because, yeah, like I said, like, he'll have one game every series, often the one they lose at the end, where he's not done great. And I think that in Split 1, it was even worse, actually, on that points.
Yeah.
But I think Xiaohu's actually been having a decent split individually, and I think that if you just kind of boil it down to, oh, sometimes Honkyu will lose to Xiaohu, I think that's underrating a guy who's actually had pretty individually good moments. And, like, right here, you know, is he doing very well? Yes, this is one of his better games, but Honkyu, you know, he counterpicked here. Xiaohu just locks in, though. Oh, hang on a second. Honkyu almost mind game now. Xiaohu doesn't land the ult, though.
And looking for it. Can't quite do it, but the Petrifying Gaze being down gives Honkyu a little bit more threat. Junja, get hold of those grubs. Now look at the Scuttle Crab with the Vi charging Q. Got the ability to call the pack. No Hound's Pursuit available, but Xiaohu roaming over realistically means this Scuttle Crab is going to be well out of reach of Junja, and so JJ will pick that one up just fine. JJ obviously long time enjoyer of the Vi as well. Big chunk onto Elk. Deadly Flourish comes on down. The curtain calls come on again. This is proving to be really problematic. Hank needs to do some dodging. 4 lands onto Elk, and they're both left at about half HP. And the shove will continue until someone's morale improves. And largely, it seems to be JDG's bot lane, who are just enjoying the pressure lane, as they have done since the start of the year.
Yeah. And again, like, the early levels, I actually thought the Elk and the Hank doing quite well. They hang on Xiaohu, forcing the ult out of Honkyu. Here comes Neferi.
Hound's Pursuit after flash away from Xiao, who's a pretty speedy snake at this point. Are we going to get a Q3 to land? No, we are not. And the Mortal Steel will be just shy of the snake, but the Darking Dogs land flash for the second daggers, and Xiao goes down.
Yeah, as soon as the first Q hits, Xiaohu's in trouble, goes down to the 1v2, was winning the 1v1, required Junja to come through, but the Neferi now 2-0. And Weibo on the other side, not able to make an impact with JJ just yet. That Vine needs to get involved in the game ASAP, Sam. Some of these lanes are getting really problematic. Xiaohu had that lead. JJ needs to get involved.
Gala's got a 4th shot, trying to split damage, though, is a bit awkward. Now they're trapped on the turret, the barrier comes on down. Honkyu's got a Q3 to work with, tries to unbind his soul to dodge the Q. Won't Comet gets a kill in the bot lane, though. So it becomes a 1v1 as JJ, or 1-4-1 as JJ gets one in mid, and Vampire gets one in bot.
So that Comet was changed on the patch, does more damage the longer it travels. If he goes over this wall here, he might walk into the Jin trap. Jin W's used,
Nice.
will proc that trap there. Might be able to stop the recall anyway. Bot lane pressure working out so well for them. And no, Gala's Jin has been very good this split. One of the champions I won't fault him on is actually this champion. He's done very well with it. Haven't seen top laners got into the play, gets into the game much themselves. Xiaohu, again, getting the better of this mid lane. Only Junja saving that mid lane play. It's a good Q flash, as we said. One of the things about Neferi, sometimes you really disrespect how much burst damage she has if she lands the Q2 onto a bleeding target.
Yeah.
So if you hit the first Q, they're bleeding. Second Q just does a crazy amount of damage and then reapplies the bleed as well. Jumps on towards Vampire. Vampire doesn't particularly want this, I don't think. He will lose most of his HP there.
Yeah, Honky just unbinds his soul briefly. Does hit that Q3 in the Spirit Cleave. Just fighting over this mid lane control ward, basically. But Junja being around makes this probably a win for JDG. JJ's also around there. Throws down another control ward.
A little later. Does have the ult, doesn't have flash. Quite hard to play the Vi into the Neferi.
TPing for this.
Yeah, they are. The Scion's coming down. This will be a fight over the Dragon.
W, but followed by the cease and desist. Out comes that curtain call to try and turn things around. The Fate Seal is decent. They will kill off the jungler, but it's traded well. Xiaoshu here flashes the Petrifying Gate. Another double Q3, and the shot takes the fish's life. Nami down for the cow. Zuko is a little low here, and Honkyu is threatening as another deadly flourish lands. Backstep on the Noxious Blast. Vampire's in the Dragon Pit, though. Does have a flash, gets out to safety. Elk debating Valkyrie over the wall will not.
Valkyrie backwards instead. The Hank flashes away from Honkyu and straight into a 4th shot. The Hank, good tidal wave, but once again struggling to make his impact really known here. It's a good combo from JJ, I think, to take Junja off the board course. we have to talk about this. It is Junja versus JJ, our EDG Worlds winning junglers from 2021. JJ was like the overstudy, Junja the understudy, who was notable for his games in 21 summer to get EDG to Worlds. Junja then took over, JJ took over at Worlds itself. So Junja is not credited as the World's winner because he didn't play games at the World Championship. I think that's a crying shame. He does deserve to be noted alongside that from EDG 21. Vampire gets the double Q onto both of them here. The Jhin W is in range. They don't have the ult this time to follow up. The Hank is just getting exploded here. He has not had a good time here in that support matchup. And Vampire is up there as, you know, very much one of our top supports in the region. Whereabouts on that changes. Good double Q there too. Gets both of them there. And that's actually leading to a potential winning play here.
JJ just looking for an angle, but there's a Jhin trap waiting. Q into the river. Teleport as well. The Honkyu's unbounded, so looks for the Q3. Can't quite land it. The shield is there to keep Vi safe, and she also gets the dragon.
She might steals it away, but good play there from JJ. Ends up getting the dragon, and that's going to really throw a bit of a wrench into JDG's plans. Weibo are not a great dragon stacking team. They're pretty bad at approaching dragons in general, although they've been improving recently. Getting an early dragon kind of gives them a bit more room for maneuver later into the game where they've struggled. So Weibo getting that there. Yes, they commit the teleport out of the Cassiopeia, and he was probably going to use that to get back into the play anyway. Quite good for them. They just need to do something about this Jhin, man. The Jhin is so far ahead. It's got the bot lane quest at the same time as Elk. I mean, Elk, this is the problem, right? Most of the time when it goes to this kind of point of gold difference, you'd expect, oh, but it's about, you know, the bot lane role quest. Well, no, that's actually completed from the Corki too. Just poor Elk just hasn't really had a support to play with, sadly. Hank's been dying a lot in this laning phase, and you know, I hate to, you know, really rag on him too much, but a lot of this does come down to simple laning phase errors. Laning turret is going to go down. Bot lane out of turret. First turret taken of the game. JDG will take that just through raw 2v2.
A bit of a pause here as actually JDG had checked out that gold lead, and it's like just blink and you miss it. 3,000 gold despite the early laning woes, but a lot of that's out for this bot lane. A lot of this is off these kind of early jungle plays as well, as Xiaohu's trading pretty well here onto jungle. The moment I say that, I do apologize. Causes a little bit of difficulty. There's a chunk though, and a cease and desist, and the tidal wave, and that's just all the CC onto Vampire in the world. Stake through the heart. JJ's fists turn into wooden poles.
And this is where JDG actually started to lose against Weibo in Split 1, where they get caught out on the map in jungle support. Vampire, great laning phase, but this is one of the worries that we do have about the player, is that against some teams, you can kind of get a little bit caught out on the map, especially against a player as veteran and as cerebral as JJ. Takes down a good kill there. Starting to lead that charge. The Vi first pick playing some dividends here.
All the while, of course. I think Xiaohu still get a amount of power here. He's still up a fair amount of CS. Will be a problem as this game goes on. Again, the early laning advantages he was leveraging, though, are a lot less significant, I think, than they were earlier in the game. Gala eats a boss bomb. Dropped a little lower than I think he would like to be, but we'll be okay here. Okay, got a couple minutes until the next dragon. Herald, though, has been started by JDG. They brought the Rumble down, and again, they did get Rumble. Probably one of the strongest picks in general. One of the very few top lanes it feels like you can first pick and feel like it's going to be very difficult to answer come what may, come what draft. It's just very strong in general. Then Flourish does land there onto Elk. But not too much more happening on that one. The early lead to JDG, still good. Perfect, not unplayable for Weibo, assuming this bot lane discrepancy doesn't continue to build into something truly monstrous. I do a 2-item Jhin who's ahead of curve into a opposition that, with the exception of the Scion, probably doesn't enjoy the burst of this Jhin. Will be taken lightly. See what the third item will be. I'm assuming something like a Lord Dominic's Regards probably wouldn't go too awry. Wouldn't hate an Infinity Edge either. Both those options pretty good here.
Just sorting out the YouTube stream. Basically, YouTube uses AI to determine a lot of stuff, and it gets it wrong. So it means that some streams can get wrongly taken down, like ours. Basically, there's an advert on in some of the breaks about the Riftbound cards, which sometimes gets stuff taken down because they think it's about gambling, and it's not. It's just YouTube has become more and more reliant on AI as time's gone on, and it's really bad for community creators, basically. So, yeah, I don't know. YouTube, get your shit together, you know, basically. Trying not to swear on broadcast too much anymore, but it annoys me, folks. It does. Right, Zerka landing against the Blade of the Rune King. of Honkyu. He's only really got himself a little bit of armor in the tabby. Does help, of course, against the Jhin, and the Yone, of course, does, but not like you've got yourself that full armor item. Herald into mid lane. It's not going to fully kill it, but it will take 2 of the last remaining plates. Gold very much in the favor of JDG, but it's almost all through that bot lane. I mean, Gala and Vampire have just destroyed, particularly the Hank. I actually think Elk has been playing it out as well as he could do. It's just poor Elk playing with his 3rd support of the year. And the Hank clearly uncomfortable under pressure. This is why I didn't like the Corki Nami. It was a losing lane, and it has potentially lost them the game. In fact, I called this out in draft, and I said, look, realistically, you are buying into a very difficult scenario. Maybe you should have taken the Jhin away. Maybe you should have gone towards something which was a bit more laning focused than the Corki Nami, which does. It's strong in lane, but it's not one like of our apex bot lanes. And I think they really struggle for it. Maybe they should have taken the Caitlyn Elise and said, well, maybe we will get engaged onto you later, but it'll be worth it. I think that they've ended up having, you know, the game taken away from them through bot lane now.
They have dragons about to spawn. That makes things a bit spicy.
Zucker's roaming down. Yone has teleport, can join the play. It's going to be started here. Weibo, typically, they've not done very well at dragon fights in this split. Yone takes top lane turret, gets some gold for himself. We'll have to recall to spend that gold. Dragon goes down, so it'll just be top lane gold for Yone traded for the dragon, and the second one for Weibo, which is good for them. Now they can give up a couple of dragons if they need to, scale up on the Cassiopeia and the Sile.
We've got 3 grubs to work with, and Elk is now going to get chunked out a little bit. The Equalizer follows onto the Hank. The curtains getting called as well, and this fish is in so much danger. Has to body block. Does JJ. He's got a Vault Breaker charging. 4th shot lands and brings JJ down about half. That will mean the mid turret
that's the real
well. That's just wide on the Hank.
That's the real kind of goal there. JDG end up getting the inside track towards mid lane. They just want to chunk out. If they get the kill, that's a bonus, but it means that Weibo won't have the HP to defend that turret. So they get themselves top lane outer, mid lane outer at the cost of that dragon. They get themselves a lot of map control with that. Now Weibo gonna have to play a lot more defensively on the map. JJ might go towards bot side. I don't know if they have the damage for this. The thing about the Cassiopeia Vi combination is that it's not as long range as a Vi Ahri, a Vi Aurora, a Vi Akali even, which can follow from very long distances. The power of the Vi Cassiopeia, though, is that someone is CC'd in front of the Cassiopeia for like 5 seconds solid, and that's death.
Yeah,
so if you get the miasma off of it as well, they can't flash away afterwards, so it's really nasty. So there is a very good combo there, but it's not quite easily as pulled off at long range compared to Vi's other kind of contemporary pairings.
Of course, the other thing is now the Yone is out of this rough laning phase. It's kind of got to that Blade of the Ruin King point. It's got the upgraded boots. We'll be able to theoretically leverage these 3 grubs, and Yone's always want to be one of the best grubs abusers because of his ability to unbind a soul and just auto-attack a turret with ramping attack speed, which is kind of silly. And then look to really leverage a side lane win condition, which Xiaohu and Zucker will maybe not be able to do quite as freely. Again, the Cassiopeia has become a better side laner because she can buy boots, because she's got so much more move speed. She's a lot harder to lock down than she once was. As it stands, though, just leads to a good gold lead for JDG. A few minutes until Dragon. The fact that they do have one of those dragons denied, an early soul point for Weibo, which could have broken that potential split push win condition just a touch. And the Yone is just permanently being sent into this Sion lane, and the Sion just kind of has to deal with the fact it's not a fun matchup. Again, he itemized originally against the Rumble, which means he's going to be a little ways off being able to deal with the percent HP of the Blade of the Ruin King. Yone looking for a Vault Breaker. Did JJ steal that one away? No, he didn't. It was Junja who got that with the smite. Prince of Thieves denied his crown this time around. Xiaoshu continues this 1-3-1, and in fairness, JDG are playing the map very wide, very well here. They're playing all 3 lanes fairly successfully, getting wave shoved into these tier 2s kind of for free, with Weibo struggling to find an answer for the continual shove and roam play that JDG have been able to find. Goes the look around this topside river. Baron is up. I don't think either team will necessarily want to start it super early. But then again, you have got a Corki, you've got a Cassiopeia, your ability to shred down a Baron fairly high there for Weibo, of course. But JDG, Rumble, Yone, not bad at it. Neither is an Inferi. The issue is you've still got the Jhin as an AD carry, who's not exactly what you call a fast Baron taker.
No, not at all, really. One of the things which really strikes me about this game, because, you know, I'm talking about it from the Weibo side because it feels particularly bad for them, because it feels like the game has just fallen apart through bot lane. And actually, you know, mid lane did well. JJ's done well. I think Zucker's doing fine in this top lane matchup too. And there's a lot of things going fine for Weibo as the team which are the underdogs here. I think this is something where we flip it around to JDG, though, where one of the things that we've learned about JDG is that, much like many great teams across League history, and, you know, JDG this roster of them may end up amongst them. You know, they've been international representatives. We'll see if they manage to get beyond just being kind of, you know, domestic competitors and being someone that can compete on the world stage later in the year as well, perhaps making it to MSI 2, is like many of these top teams, when someone gets ahead, the whole team can win through that player. And JDG can do that through any player on the map, really. Even Vampire. No, Vampire is one of these great playmaking supports who can make a real mess of a game by getting ahead on a playmaking support. They are a team which, in this game, it has been Gala that's ahead, Vampire, who's kind of helped him get there as well. And JDG just chill on the rest of the map, despite the fact that Honku has struggled, and they can play through him.
Junja will call the pack and eviscerate over the wall. There are Jhin traps everywhere. It's a minefield in mid.
It is. This is, now, the thing when Jhin gets fed, a lot of people disrespect this about Jhin. When Jhin needs wave clear, and he's not that far ahead in the game, he puts a trap on the wave to clear it quicker. He doesn't need that now. He's almost at 3 items at 23 minutes. So at that point, his traps can be used elsewhere for that utility, you know, like that half ward vision like Maokai does as well. It jumps forwards onto Gala there. Not a bad trade.
Decent chunk. The turnaround, though, does mean that Elk loses a little bit more of his HP. The traps are procced. They do manage to make their way through them, but Junja's now around. TP's coming to fly. Honku unbind his soul, looking to threaten around this Skull Crab. They cease and desist. The Yone, though, needs to rebind his soul and ult away as the Scion was looking. Curtain's getting called, though, and the play starts to get ping-ponged back and forth down this river, but Zucker now just tanks up the Curtain call, and they're not going to find
Yone can teleport back. Yone can teleport back, so that ultimate being used, well, the 3 ultimates being used, that's such a big overinvestment. The Dragon fight, once again, not going smoothly for Weibo like it has done in this split.
Did use the Curtain Call and the Fate Sealed as well, of course, but Junja can still threaten. Zucker is around with a large front line to work with, and he does have a Tidal Wave to back him up. Zucker eats a bit of damage there from Gala, who's starting to get towards some more armor pen. Call of the Pack from Junja, keep himself safe. The Tidal Wave, somewhat mediocre, it must be said. The Aqua Prism follow, though, onto the Rumble, gets a bit of work done. Yone gets it with a Q3, I think. Xiaohu needs to dodge away from said Q3. The damage is good, and Weibo dropped the Dragon.
They do. I think there were just way too many ultimates. Elk is now alone. The Neferi has W back up, and Elk can't escape this. So I don't really know how he ended up there. It was clearly not the best place to be. Elk caught out.
You know that picture of the turtle on the post? There's a little bit of that with instead a large forest animal.
It's like elevated beyond his ability to function.
Yeah.
Like, how did he get there? Sad things. I mean, Elk. That one's his mistake. I think the other death, and I think the being behind this amount of gold, is not on him. That one is, though, and it's a sad situation. It does stream a little bit of desperation there, right? Weibo, I can understand them trying to burst out Honky, trying to get that miasma down. As we said, Vi, Cassiopeia is a really scary combination if you get the ult into the miasma within range, but they didn't quite have the damage. Now Baron is actually being started from Weibo. Can they get this in time? They use the blue trinket
Sion's not there.
Their red buff. Sion's not here, you're right, but he does have the ult to join them. They're not going to be in here in time, though, surely.
They're not. JJ doesn't have flash, does have ult, can maybe get here. The Fate Seal turnaround, not fantastic from Honku. Now this gets to Smite Steal range, and JJ, of course he steals it. The Prince of Thieves finds another Baron take.
JJ's Smite Key is one of the best in the world, and he pulls out another such important one. JDG very nearly had the timing, but they couldn't block them away from the pit. JJ flies in, didn't even need to use flash or ult. They've got themselves a Baron on 5.
Then everything that was looking so good for JDG suddenly looks a lot more problematic. Junja and Gala both end up chunked. I was about to call out Zucker for his itemization. Who needs 2 MR items this game? Honku goes in, regrets it. The Tidal Wave is traded with the Equalizer, and the Hank is left about half HP. Zucker in the front line is eating quite a lot more damage now. This needs to be a bit wary again. He's got double MR items. The Yone and the Jhin really hurt him. JJ is now body blocking, and the Baron is going to have to be somewhat reset here as the health bars get a little low.
Yeah, I mean, look, Weibo, they unexpectedly got this Baron. They didn't get to reset kind of preferentially with this Baron, so they'll reset now with the empowered recalls, and they'll get back out onto the map. I mean, they think they have the timing. They don't quite. The Q to the side stops the ultimate from Honku, completely whiffs it, of course, and he's trying to do that for the CC onto the Vi, who just, it's a great smite, goes down to literally 1 HP. 1 HP is the damage there. And then, of course, JDG can't even turn for the fight. They've already used a lot to try and secure that Baron and keep them away from it.
It did crazy, crazy stuff, but it means that actually the gold lead that was building for JDG somewhat mitigated here. Still early lead for the side of JDG, but there's still 1.5 minutes to go. A lot of these outer turrets still to be claimed. Weibo only got a single turret, so you've got to hope they can bring down some of these structures here. At least one more would be a minimum requirement, one would imagine. The Scion now shoving up mid lane. He's finally got some armor outside of the steel caps and the Warden's mail. wanted that extra wave clear, I guess, versus the Rumble with the Hollow Radiance, but I do wonder whether it was a bit of an overstep into that second MR item.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the second MR item was a bit too much. Whatever, he hasn't died yet, I suppose. It's not cost him his life, but it has cost him his preference, his presence in the team fight. Yeah, like his choice of positioning. I'm noticing that Elk is going towards that Dirk. I hope that's a Serpent's Fang and not a Collector.
It is a Serpent's Fang.
There we go.
Speak about it. Yeah,
cool. There we go. That's very helpful because actually, you know, the Collector is not good beyond first item, realistically. Just the maths just don't math, really. But the Serpent's Fang against a Karma always has huge value. Works against the Shield Bow and the W of the Yone as well. And the ultimate shield from the second cast of it from the Neferi as well.
I mean, literally everyone's got a shield. There's a barrier on Jin, there's scrap shield on Rumble.
That's true.
Like, you know, there's shields everywhere.
That's very true. Every single member has shields. Fair play. They jump onto Xiaoshu here. Don't think JJ has the damage to kill him with it. He's actually pretty strong with the 2.5 items. You sometimes overlook Vi's damage because she's not like... Often when Vi's in the game right now, Vi is kind of shut down by a Jarvan or a Pantheon or a Shinzao, and the Vi doesn't get to play the late game. But if you escape the early game, and Jid has done very well, you know, catching out Vampire on the map, gets the Baron Steal there too, right? Gets himself very active in the game. Then the Vi can legitimately be a one-shot threat at points in the game.
Honku not quite at Infinity Edge. That's a little bit of a frustration point coming into what could be a critical third dragon fight for both teams. We've got Zhonya's done for Xiaohu, which I think is actually quite huge here to try and deal with some of the upfront burst of things like the Jin, the Yone, the Neferi trying to fly at you, which I think could have been quite scary. I do know that Elk got the Gluttonous Greaves. Actually, he's got a little bit extra sustain himself behind that, and the Nami can be quite scary. It will be Weibo in the river first, and JDG who are going to have to retake. There was a ward in the back of the pit that hasn't been swept out. That means it's going to have a bit more vision than they would normally. Perhaps the volume will be rising in the arena nonetheless, though. Finally spotted out by that control ward.
Junja looking towards JJ there.
Has managed to fight for some of this vision. He's still in that back of the pit, looking for Dark and Daggers, doesn't find it. It's a pretty dark river for JDG, all things said and done. Junja is still here. Is he going to have to eviscerate out? I think he'd rather not, but we'll now jump back on out. Xiaoshu being tasked with frontlining. Elk got CC'd by something and lost half his HP bar.
Jin W.
It was the Jin W. Honku looks for the Q3! Into the R. Xiaohu left low, but doesn't quite go down. And Honku has to reset. Tidal Waves flying with Equalizer. Golden goes Xiaohu. Flashes away. JJ at the back of the pit. Can't stick around the 4-top. Brings Elk down to half. Decimating smash into the backline. Goes JJ looking for another smite steal. Will die for it, but finds what he was looking for. Soul point secured. Zucker, though, gets melted, so it's 2 for 1 right now. The Hank also going low, but not quite down. Xiaoshu goes gone. Flash for the Darky Dagger, just wide. The Deadly Flourish also just wide. Dogs go in, and in the end, 2 dead, but the dragon is secure.
It's a messy fight for Weibo again. They've not been really winning the dragon fights. They've been winning the smites. JJ is very much saving Weibo. Not actually sure if it wins them something like the game, though. They're still behind in gold, despite the Baron stolen earlier. They need to get another smite fight in their favor later on. As you were saying, you know, Elk ended up getting Jin W'd for quite a lot of damage. Gala does a ton at this point. It's not a bad tidal wave. It doesn't end up cancelling out the Jin ult, though. If that had happened, I think that would have potentially helped them quite a lot. As Elk got hit by the 4th shot, and I think with that, really hurt their ability to fight. Gala, the fact that the Jin can impact these fights so much with just ult is really hurting Weibo.
And then they tracked the fact that JJ was still behind the pit, managed to get back in there, and of course Junja pulled off to get involved in the fight. Nice little re-engage and steal away there. They're very unlucky not to get an additional kill at the back end of it. But still, gold lead there. Soul point for Weibo, though. Hold on by some heroics and some smoke and mirrors from the jungler more than anything else. Xiaohu also survived the attempt on his life there that was pretty dangerous from this Yone, who is...
me scarred horribly.
That was roughly where I was going. Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. Well, we'll see whether Honku the Wise can ensure that Xiaohu can't cheat death anymore. Nearly at that Infinity. I've just been at this component since before that Dragon fight. I'm assuming next reset from the Yone will earn him that Infinity Edge, which is obviously a massive spike.
And at that point, it's a single ult and then kill, basically. Now, the Yone's not had an easy time. I do think that Honku has been struggling. I think that Xiaohu has had a good game. And I know we talked about this in comments earlier in chat, but I think Xiaohu has been underrated at points in this split, where he's actually had, you know, 2 out of every 3 games. I think he's had a good one. He's had a good one here. He's got the full Zhonya's. The Cassiopeia can cause a ton of issues for a bunch of champions, as Honku not going to get hit by that mouse. But gets aggroed by the Baron, actually. Loses a lot of his HP. Junja, though, does have a 1,000 gold lead over JJ. We've talked a lot about JJ and his smite steals. This Neferi is very strong. Doesn't have the healing boots. He's got the Merc Treads, which I haven't noted about just yet. But, you know, Junja has been a huge assassination threat.
That's been the play. Equalizer.
Oh, that's wide!
Very mediocre.
It's no one!
I wonder what they were aiming for there, but then so does the Cyanol and the Tidal Waves. Everyone just presses R in a panic and hits nothing.
Guys, we gotta go back to maths class. We gotta get out like the rulers and the protractor and stuff. That was not it, Sam.
Oh, the Pythagoras theorem is just not in practice here today. They can't find the angle, and triangles do not, in fact, have 3 sides in this game.
This is what happens when you like try and vibe code like on the fly. It'll be that.
Someone's gone to Claude and decided they won't do it themselves anymore, and it goes a little wrong. Backstep from Junja immunes the petrifying gaze, and another ult therefore goes wide.
Yeah, that's a really important W. If Junja hadn't gotten that intargetability off, he would have taken a lot of damage potentially if he got stunned. Yeah, that's a straight death into the Baron. This is where I think JDG really start to show themselves on the whole as better than other teams within the LPL, where they are just much better in these points in the game where they have to you know, find themselves towards Dragon and Baron fights, push up different waves, have presence on the map, manage vision, and look for picks. They're better at this style of play than almost anyone else in the LPL. Even BLG can get like kind of flustered around this kind of points in play. Baron's going down again. JJ, I'm sorry, mate. I think you're going to have to be tasked with another steal.
He's managed it pretty successfully so far. How good's the Smikey, and how nervy are JDG about it? It gets in your head as a jungler when you start losing those smites.
They actually called it off. It went down to it went down quite low, and then they pulled off it. I think it was around 6k ended up going down to there. But JJ's had his smite keep very firmly locked in this game, and you can understand the apprehension of giving him another chance to show that off. As we get into another recall, there's a Randuin's in for Zika, and I know there was some talk about this item being kind of bad on a lot of different champions. Against a Jhin and a Yone, though, when they're permanently critting, it does make a huge difference. Now we've got 1 minute till Dragon. Weibo will be looking for the Soul. If they do win the Smite fight, you have an Ocean Soul on a Zhonya's Cassiopeia, and the Sion as well. It makes a big difference.
Xiaoshu just lost half his HP, but he's going to try and reset. It's going to be a little delayed there because the poison's going to make things a bit tricky. Should still be able to complete that one. Steal away on another cap. You menace.
That actually gets JJ level 16.
Yeah.
That's not negligible. There's a teleport now coming in from the Rumble. That could be bad.
God, the Aqua Prison is early though, and the flash out comes on forwards. And now Xiaoshu needs to go. Gon gets cease and desisted. Where's the Zhonya's? Finally comes on down. Elk's being burned low. Flashes out. They blow up the Rumble, but the Fate Sealed lands on Elk, who's already burned his flash. They try to get that kill and succeed, but now look who is trapped in the backline. It's Junja who gets miasmed. Nowhere to go. Xiaohu with the double.
And Yone ends up burning down too, so it's a 3-for-1. Elk does get caught out, but the teleport from Xiaoshu, we just think, look, JDG, they're better around this point than the top teams of the LPL. Look, Weibo, they're not technically a top team of the LPL, Sam. Weibo or Weibo, they can beat or lose to anyone in the entire goddamn league by their money. Weibo will get themselves Ocean Soul, and they should probably win the game off this point, Sam. Sam, they've got like high HP solo laners. They've got a GA on the Vibe. For those of you who don't know the interaction, if you go down into your GA and you're on the Ocean Soul, it will proc as you're reviving as long as it's still active. And when you're in Zhonya's as well, it'll do the same thing. That Ocean Soul is legitimately game-changing here, Sam. The teleport's bad. The bubble is early. The Silent Q's actually not. It's pretty close to that time. It's just a very good flash from Xiaoshu. Onto the Baron now. And JDG, I can't believe they're losing in an objective game to Weibo with, you know, the Hanku's really struggled. That's often where, you know, Weibo would win through jungle support. But I think the last Twin Fans goes through and it burns him down. He burns down to the double burns. There we go. Baron taken by Weibo and live.
Really, really good stuff. And Xiaohu had such a great laning phase, been such a threat across this game. Finally gets a few kills to justify the individual performance. It's not even bad from Honkyu and Junja, right? They managed to find the combo they're looking for, but the fact that Junja then ends up trapped on the miasma, can't reset with the R, was huge. I always think Xiaoshu, that teleport should never have worked.
He was hoping that Weibo would go straight down towards Dragon, but they spotted it too early. You thought it was far enough away. Absolutely wasn't. And I think this is the kind of fight which JDG just cannot win, where they need to have Jhin-centric team fights. This is a 5-item Jhin. Gala is 504. He is the most powerful person on JDG. If the Jhin can be in the fight early, I think JDG win those fights. When we've seen him lead with his ult, with his W, Weibo don't really know what to do about that. Now the problem is, Sion's getting tankier. He has an Ocean Soul, so he's got basically an extra half HP bar you got to go through as well. I don't think the Jhin is going to be enough for that. I think earlier in the game, before the Soul, yeah, he probably would have been. Now it's getting questionable.
You do at least have Yone, Rumble, even the Fury to an extent with that Black Cleaver. You do have some tank killers. As long as the Jin is hitting someone not named Scion, I think you're a little happier.
Exactly. So you need him to get W's onto Elk like we saw at previous Dragon fights. Get Xiaohu to Zhonya's early. That's a jump onto JJ. And again, the Ocean Soul starts taking. He's following forwards with the ult.
Oh, tried to drag someone away, but the Scion ult's there, and Yone is immediately deleted. JDG try to find something onto the Scion, but they don't have the damage at this moment. They get about half his HP bar, but he is definitely getting to that tankier point. And is no longer quite so vulnerable to the AD damage.
This has got to be one of Honky's worst games of the split. He's really struggled versus... hang on a second, JJ going low, has that GA.
The Ocean Soul is so obnoxious, comes right back to being healthy. Had the Nami behind him as well. Zucker's TP'd in. He's got a monster shield on top of everything else. He's got about 7,000 HP, really. He's managed to back away. Xiao gets dropped a little low. Deadly Forest just wide there. The Z-axis betraying Gala for a second or two, but the inhibitor goes down. JJ breaking forwards. Elk does not enjoy the fourth shot though, but he has got an Ocean Soul and an army behind. So a lot of that damage is somewhat undone. The dancing grenade bounces on through. Deadly Flourish lands. Can we follow? Akka Prison Force to the back step. Fourth shot still there. Curtains get called, but there'll be a lot of people who can body block that. The Darking Daggers begin to fly, make things a bit spicier. Miasma is there. Zucker's going to have to ult away. Do we have a potential TP angle behind? No, not really.
No. So, JDG, you gotta feel for Gala. You gotta feel for Gala and Vampire, who stomped their lane, snowballed the map, and through poor objective smites, before poor ability to keep JJ away from the pit, and actually just a poor performance by both solo laners now in the late game of Honkyu and Xiaoshu, both overextending into the Cassiopeia damage, into the CC of the Scion and the Vi. That has thrown away the hard effort of this bot lane of JDG.
Oh, Honky, you dare step into Xiaohu's mana? This man's been running the LPL since before you were playing the game, my son.
And again, like, there was a comment at the start of the game, and I do understand this, because I think from, a lot of people's opinions, Xiaohu has been bad for a while, and Honkyu's been very good this split too. I think that Xiaohu has been underrated, and Honkyu, he has just beaten Cream and Shanks on the trot, but Xiaohu, credit to him. I think that individually, you look back to 2024 summer, I thought that this guy was literally going to quit because he was so bad. I thought that was the end of his career. Xiaohu has managed to bounce back more times than people have started. This guy is really confident on that. Almost dies.
Xiaohu's going to burn on forward. Can he get the kill? Not quite. The healing from Ocean Soul and late game Nami is just too much.
Yeah, I can see Xiaoshu rather, kind of shaking his head a little bit there on the camera. Goes down, looks for an extended play, can't get it, and the anti-heal is technically there. There goes Zucker.
Trying to stop Junjo, who's looking for a flank angle potentially to catch someone out as they went for this tier 2, won't quite find it. Does eat a bit of his health bar for doing so, but he has got Ocean Soul, and again, the Nami at this point is doing a lot of work. It is a level 15 Nami with a lot of healing and shielding power behind, and Ocean Soul.
Yeah, for sure. I think that the maxed out ebb and flow obviously very much helps. You get in towards hyper late game, and Nami... I mean, it's not as much healing as a Soraka, but it's still actual healing. The Karma on the other side of it is shielding. Shanghai Scrolls Jin has a very cool recall there. Thanks for showing that one off. So, Sam, we're going to get down to an Elder fight. So this game is not over. We're even in gold. It should be very much favored by Weibo. It should be. The problem is for JDG, they haven't got any of the flashes away from Weibo. And Xiaoshu has just used his own. So that's an important cooldown down. The Rumble, if he's ever caught out, he can't reposition, and players can flash away from his ult or his damage.
JDG's just also won pretty much every 50-50 in this game. It never feels like it's an even affair when it's JDG who's doing the smiting. Hold up, 30 seconds away. Baron, 30 seconds or so after that. More like 40, but in the grand scheme of things, close enough. 5 items for Elk, worth noting as well.
That Serpent's Fang we already talked about, but that Infinity Edge, yep, that will hurt. Elk is not, look, it's not been a main character Elk game, but if he does get damaged now, he's a late game call. He just JJ fly over the wall, has the Death Stance. Death Stancing an Ocean Soul means he is going to stay alive a very bloody long time, folks. Dragon coming up now. Weibo, how what it takes to close out the game? Well, they've had a mixed split, and Dragons have often been their downfall, but in this game, JJ's Smite Key has come out on top.
The issue is with it being so dark, who the hell face checks the damage now? You've got to go into the Cassiopeia, the Vi, and you've got no tank.
Okay, so JDG, what's the contest look like? They're looking for Jin W's, they're looking for equalizers, trying to get the big damage down. Junja now stuck into Cassiopeia's DPS.
And call comes on down, they went looking for the Petrifying Gaze, can't quite find it, down to half HP is the Elder Dragon. Scion with the Q, going slightly wide, Junja back into the pit. We keep hunting around, the dance continues.
Oh, Junja goes low, very good big one there. However, we have used the here ult already.
Zucker goes in, keeps him away from the pit. Honker in the backline, feeds him wide. Good Valkyrie away, cease and desist, the turnaround play. The equalizer follows. JJ is burning but not down. want. Ocean Soul value is strong. 4,000 HP. It will be another flip. But of course, it's JJ's Smite Key that is again supreme. Prince of Thieves he may be, but king of this game he certainly is.
Xiaohu flashing over, trying to get the last kills. The Elder Dragon will start to roar. JDG had all the advantages in this game.
Flash from Honkyu, tries to get something, gets nothing. A final focused resolve will lead to nothing. The Aqua Prisoners wipe at Vampire. You can only escape justice for a second or two longer. The long arm of the law comes crashing down on the support's head.
JJ has had a wonderful game. One of the best junglers in his time in the LPL. Much like Xiaohu here, can occasionally peak back up to that again. Weibo Gaming, consistently inconsistent. They're underdogs, but baby, that's where they love to be. JDG, firm favorites, dropping game 1.
Towards the Nexus we go. Weibo will take the early edges from mid lane, get the smites from JJ to hold them into a game where they were down 5,000 gold, and JDG look at themselves and wonder how on earth it all went wrong.
I think that's got to be Honky's worst game of the split sem. I think that the early will always give you something to worry about. One like, all right, let's get into it. JDG, they lose this. They drop down to 4th amongst their peers. They have one last series to pick up the slack. Beyond that, it's very close between 3rd to 4th, 2nd to 4th.
There he is, the great goat of the Gyro calls here himself. Don't know his name. I should ask.
Yeah, we need to find out his name.
You know what? I'll drop Iris a line. She's normally a good line of insight.
Yeah.
Find out what's the Jing Dong chat leader's name, because they're very cool.
It's great.
Anyone in chat know?
Hey, thank you so much, Kenren, for the raid as well.
Grazie ragazzi.
Grazie ragazzi. Appreciate you all. For those of you that don't know, Kenran is a wonderful streamer and co-streamer and analyst of the Italian variety. You know, we got to specify, you know, but he is well and truly the Ferrari of the League of Legends scene. You know, you want yourself like the fast-paced analysis with real style. That's your Kenran right there. Also, he's really fast in Uma Musume and is a top team trials player.
Is he an Uma player?
He's an Uma player and he's actually one of the best team trials players.
No way.
Yeah, so that's the thing.
When are we getting a Kenran versus Nymaera Uma rivalry stream?
I mean, I'm down for that.
I
Maybe we
want
get
a clean
Raccoon to
race.
host it.
Okay.
We could do that. We could have Raccoon, Kenren, Nymaera kind of trio. We could work with that.
I can see that.
All right, Xiaohu getting a bit out-traded here by Honkyu at the early levels. Has gone for the lethal tempo. No surprises there. For those of you who haven't tuned in for the rest of the stream, I'd imagine you guys were over watching LCK or doing something else worthy of time, which is completely fine there too. JDG got a huge lead in game 1 through bot lane because the Hank is an LDL support. He's come in kind of on short notice because Weibo's support Hung was playing very badly for a while, and then he recovered, but I think Weibo wanted to try something different, and the Hank has not been great. He struggled in laning phase. It is Gala and Vampire. They're a strong TV2, and JDG exploded the game through them, but Weibo was saved by the Prince of Thieves in the jungle. JJ stole Dragons, Baron, Elder. He did it all. He saved the game for them, and JDG are 1-0 down in the series.
Yeah, the Hank looked a little lost. One might say he was cast away and talking to coconuts.
That's wonderful, Sam.
Yeah, anyone who gets that reference, you should at this point.
It's not even molding, it's Spalding. Oh, God. Right, so earlier in the game as well, in game 1, I think there was a comment in chat which I've referred back to, and this is not to dunk on the commenter, just because I think it's a great conversation. I think it's to look into community perceptions right now, where Honkyu got blasted by Xiaohu, as in, like, he was solo killed in lane as Cassiopeia. He was the Yone and was solo killed by the Cassiopeia, and Xiaohu did a great job versus Honkyu. Honkyu last week handily beat Cream and Shanks. He lost tonight, but, you know, there's no shame in that, as we were saying. But I think Xiaohu has been genuinely very good, you know, every 2 games out of 3 is what I've been saying. But I think Xiaohu needs a lot more respect put on his name. Yes, he will have bad games, but it's not like that's the only thing which you see from him.
Xiaohu's just slid forwards. Not going to see anything spicy happening there. You can see Junja is racing over to his Raptors because there was JJ there with the Warden. I think they spotted him going in. They was a little afraid of him sticking around for that Raptor start.
Love how Xiaohu keeps the lethal tempo up. He's done that twice there, actually. You see that last auto attack there keeps the lethal tempo up, which means that if he wants the hard push, he can still get himself the full attack speed. Zuck is going really low, going to Mega soon.
God, does need to get to Mega, and we'll have it now. There's a Q that trades through on the mini now, so it will be less resists to work with, so Xiaohu gets a little bit more there from the culling of the week.
He's really lucky there because he goes Mega, then he gets Fleet Footwork for the full volume. Xiaohu is going to get Lee Sin queued.
Just about wide. There's a cripple for a little bit of a slow and a chunk, and that'll be the end of it.
Yeah, hit the Q onto the minion. He should have been able to get that. Surprised he wasn't in range for it. Should have been able to combo that up for maybe a flash from Xiaohu. I'm not sure it kills, but it should have been the flash. But impressed with Xiaohu's laning. Great versus Honkyu in the first game. And like we were saying there, just keeping the lethal tempo up. Stops a really good recall there too. The Scorch, of course, would have kept him from instantly recalling there again too. Honkyu, he has to back off for another wave. He's going to lose a full wave from that. Xiaohu has been bodying Honkyu in 1v1 lane.
And that's after Junja was called in to help get that wave shoved and sort of give you that reset timing. Really tough from Honkyu now.
And I mean, Xiaohu, he just rocks up to JDG's arena and says, all right, bet. JDG versus IG and Weibo. Like these teams with, well, I mean, it's JJ last year and on IG, and now he's on Weibo now. And Xiaohu, when he's been against this team too. I mean, right away from 2023, when Xiaohu moved from RNG to Weibo, started a new era for himself, his first time away from RNG. JDG have kind of been like just the victim of his like inconsistency, where he'd be like kind of dossing it a little bit at points, and then he'd turn up against JDG, and even the super team of 2023 had an even to losing record versus Weibo. And as the years have gone on and Weibo have gone up and down in form, against JDG, they've still somehow given them just an utter migraine trying to deal with them.
They have. Junja's going to get this early dragon, though, realistically. Honkyus has at least also got Destiny Gate available, as opposed to Destiny's Child. It's not,
right.
We haven't got the KDA skin for TF yet.
Destiny does a, wait. Destiny's Child is a
band.
Band, right?
Yeah.
What do they do?
Where Beyonce started.
Oh, right. Yeah.
A solo act.
Yeah. Child, because it's
Say my name, I think.
Because there's that one like really famous song called Children as well. Just like,
yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So in the 90s and stuff.
Yeah. Great song, by the way. And I hope that was a beautiful rendition for it.
I knew exactly what you meant.
Thanks. Yeah.
With that very sort of like slapback delay LCR going on. It's great.
Yeah. Wonderful that. I do kind of miss that kind of like, I think it's called Aero Wave, or like
is that the name of it?
Oh no, I think technically the aesthetic is, you know, like when you had like the very bubbly aesthetics and like lots of gel and like fish floating in gel and lots of organic stuff. I think that was called aerogel or aesthetics or something like that. Hang on a second, it's a hard trade. Beat did get dropped, and Gal is not exactly enjoying this musical styling.
No, he's not. He's not a fan of Aero Wave.
Frutajet Aero, that's it, not aerogel. That's an aeronautics thing. Frutajet Aero. I'm glad someone in chat has got me on this. No, it's aero something. No, aerogel is a very, very lightweight substance. What is? Oh my god.
Hey, Macari.
Oh god. Okay, no one. Okay, look, it's not aerogel. It's Frutajet Aero. That's it. Is it relevant to the game? No. Hi, Macaria. Thanks for raiding over as well. Kenran just did as well. So we've got a real party in here. We'll just catch everyone up again because we've had a couple of raiders come in. Basically, JDG had a huge lead through bot lane in game one. They were huge overdogs coming in against Weibo, who've been mixed. They've been, winning and losing against every team in the way that only Weibo really can do. JDG just beat Top Esports and Anyone's Legend, the other two top 4 teams, and then lost to BLG. So they played against the top 4, basically, the other 3 in them, and went 2-1. Really good for them. They're coming in favorites here. Weibo get smashed through bot lane. They lose bot lane tower in laning phase at about 12 minutes because the Hank has died so many times and they've dove Elk. The Hank is an LDL support. They've switched him in because things weren't going well with Hung. And despite that, Weibo, through Jejet, stole Dragon, stole Baron, stole Elder, and they won the game. So just in complete crazy fashion, Honkyu had his worst game of the split on Yone. They lost a load of objectives. JJ had an all-time classic, and JDG are now 0-1 down in the series against Weibo.
John just about to show himself coming down towards his bot lane with the Destiny Gate there. The Encore just wiped, but the cleanse through from the Breath of Life means it'll be death for the Hank. Nearly very clean there with the Encore, but can't quite time it with Honkyu's arrival, and the Breath of Life turned it around rapidly.
Yeah, it does take the summoner off of Alt. They didn't quite track the Honkyu roam. One of the things I said in Champions Select is Honkyu may be the best TF in the world. The other person is Showmaker, as people have said. I think Honkyu could go toe-to-toe with him. He's a very, very good, particularly mid to late game TF. This guy is absurdly good at the champion. He makes an impact early in this game, gets a kill. Was getting blasted in lane, though, by Xiaohu, worth noting, who... we were just having an extended talk about him because he's actually been, I think, very underrated. Has he been the best mid laner? No, but he has had a lot more good games than people are giving him credit for, and he's had a really good game 1-2. He solo killed Honkyu 1v1 in lane in their first game.
Price that bot lane gank there will be the topside grubs from JJ, which is no bad thing to pick up when you have got the Azir, will have the Nashers, and obviously the Nara as well. And we did see actually Weibo play a pretty mean 1-3-1 as things got a little bit later on into the game. See whether they can return to They're split pushing. Actually, I take that back. It was the Yoni on the other side. So no,
Yeah.
I lie.
Yeah, yeah,
in fact, what that was. But they have got the capability to play a good side lane game this time around.
Not only do we take your raids, we also lie to you.
Yeah, unintentionally. That's that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, sometimes it's intentional. Sometimes you just need to figure it out for yourself.
Sometimes I just deliberately mislead you to keep you on your toes, guys. And you have to pay attention.
Yeah, of course. Talking about some of the champions in this game too and the players with them. If you're not familiar about all of these players, Xiaoshu, of course, was at first stand. One of the things that we know him for here in the LPL is he is probably the best Renekton in the LPL. I think that Bin has taken a second place in that one for now. Xiaoshu is so good at this champion, has a 10 CS lead right now. It's like doing okay. But if you get snowballed on with a gank here, perhaps that won't last. He's just ran out of Mega as well. There could be a kick coming from him. He can ward hop over.
Maybe do that. See whether he can keep this wave away or keep Xiaoshu low. That's not looking great. I think he just needs to run away. The wave is going to have to just be dropped here. He's sticking around, but I think that's a little bold. Junger's still here. This is too far now, Zucker.
That's the rage bar. Xiaoshu takes aggro. Here comes the Lee Sin. Lands the Q. Pantheon's here, but a little too late.
Arrow lands. Maybe that turns things around. Flash for the Q as the turret shots came flying on through. Now Junger potentially in danger as the passive is stacked from JDG. Another empowered ability to get through. Junger will need to ward hop away. It's a 1-for-1.
It's a 1-for-1. JDG picks up the kill. Xiaoshu picks up the other. So the top lane matchup has been snowballed for JDG because it's not Zucker getting the kill. Takes a flash from JJ. No flashes required from Junger and Xiaoshu. Good arrow there from Elk. Ends up making it much more affordable. Encore not great from the Hunk.
I saw the thought process there, but it is just a little shy. And Gala did have the Relentless Pursuit available, so got to slide out and to safety. Of course, with Honkyu's roaming, that's just given Xiaohu a lot of free time in mid lane. I remember early in the year, people like Chovy was saying, yeah, Azir feels really awful. He's right back here at a point of power for mid lane shove again now, isn't he?
I think that a lot of the phase rush mages being out means that the Azir can kind of take longer trades versus people that can't just run away from him, and he can keep his lethal tempo up quite well. Unless it's an Orianna, you know, Orianna just kind of dunks everyone, right? But it's stuff like Syndra and gosh, someone like Victor have taken a little bit of a back step. Makes it a little easier for the Azir to lane against people with stuff like Comet instead. Junger now starting the Dragon. It's had a good impact here. Just that the JDG kind of do need to snowball the game. Now, the Lee Sin TF, very strong in the early game, but later on they don't have a crazy amount of engage. Dragon going down.
Look onto Honku, needs to flash away to get the gold card off as well. That'll be ult down, attempted steal there. Elk's now gone pretty deep for this, and the turnaround can begin to come on through. Xiaohu's going to get run out, does get gold card, the shield behind, looking for the kick, and they don't quite kill it until just now. Now there's a ward hop forward. Junger gets stunned up though, but JJ needs to run away. The Q lands, Elk now in danger.
Good
Flash
kick.
for the kick with the insect, and Junger makes the Lee Sin sing.
Oh, he's dropping forwards again. Q hits and he gets another. Junger took game one personally. From one EDG world champion to another, Junger says, thank you, my mentor, and takes down the other EDG world champion jungler.
That was a very clean turnaround there as Xiaohu wanted to punish Honku on the flank, doesn't get him with the Azir shuffle, and then the re-engage is superb.
You can't walk up like this. The sweet TF flashes away from the shuffle, and then your threat's gone. You're not bringing back down the Mega Nara, so you don't have a tank, you don't have CC. Xiaohu does have flash, and I wonder whether he should have used it there. Not that I think it saves him. I think Lee Sin will probably flash for the Q anyway. JJ uses flash topside, not really much disengaging for him. He very nearly gets out. In fact, he probably should have gotten out, but Junger, fantastic insect. Of course, he played in the LPL for a while. He was RNG's jungler back in 2014. Went there from the OGN, as it was called back then. A very good Q there. Managed to catch out JJ, who thought he was safe. Great goal to Lee Sin. And that's the snowball JDG needed.
And they suddenly find themselves up 3,500 gold, have 2 dragons to their name, and things look a little bit cleaner. Tabe has clearly gone and had a bit of a word with them about the early game shenanigans, and there'll be no more of that to be had.
Yeah, so despite Xiaohu, good early lane, I mean, Honky's got out of lane, Junger's got active, the gold cards have been good, and JDG have snowballed in the way that they want. With a 3k lead and 2 dragons already, Weibo are not a great team at fighting from a dragon disadvantage. They are not great at dragon fighting in general. Even in game 1, JDG, the way that they beat Weibo the last time, actually, in the regular season, was just walking at dragon fights, kind of killing them. So not here at the level 11 yet. Doesn't get the stun. Here comes the Pantheon.
Here comes the Grand Star Fall and the Shield Vault in. There's another passive there with the Mortal Will. Doesn't land as well as I think they're liking. Xiaoshu's doing a decent job of buying some time. And now look who else is coming on up. They're going to try and kill off Zucker, but it can't quite work. Do they get the assist? No, they don't for Xiaohu, but still the kill is secure. secured. Very close, though, from Xiaoshu, and I don't blame him for looking.
Again, this guy's Redacted is really scary. Nearly gets himself a 1v3 outplay. Trades flash for flash, dies, so sadly not getting the most out of that. JDG picks up the kill. They are going to trade across the map. 3 grubs for Weibo helped them. Of course, Azir builds up that Nashor suit, so he's a very good tower killer as well. I didn't quite see the HP on the bot lane tower compared to this one.
2 plates.
It's about 2 plates as well, so I think Weibo with the 3 grubs should just about beat that. Ash does not get that ult on target.
Nice idea, but Garlet again has been very clutch there, and unfortunately it's going to be still JDG who get there a little faster. They were at the 2 plates just that touch beforehand, so easy enough to run down. They can't get that topside play either. Now mid lane could chunk onto the bot duo. Potential ability to look for this mid-tier one.
Maybe. I'm not sure they can force onto that as heavily. The volley should be able to wave clear through a little bit, and they'll have to back off of there too. You're going to have to see some resets coming through from Weibo. The fact that they don't get that top lane turret is a big problem. Even with the 3 grubs and the Nashor's Tooth Azir, can't quite get that. Of course, that's something which, you know, used to be a big sticking point or a big hallmark of 2023 when you had the Nashor's Tooth Azir just hitting side lane turrets. It was a scoutism. Used to play around side lanes very, very well for those of you who are Scout fans from years ago. LNG 2023, very good year to show exactly how good Scout was in side lanes on his ear. Of course, Xiaohu, one of those players who was very effective during that year too, made World Finals with Weibo in that year. And something which that Nashor's Tooth Azir has always remained a bit of a split pushing threat and very good ability to gain gold through those side lanes ever since.
That's a fair way of putting it. Worth noting, there was quite a funny little stat there that JDG only have a 61% first turret win rate, by the way, which just says quite a lot about this team in general and its perplexities in mid-game.
Yeah. JDG are a weird team. They're a weird team. I mean, they have a lot of very good individual players. I think the problem with JDG has been they've had so many back-to-back series where they've had 2 series on 2 consecutive days. The reason for that is teams are kind of flown out as groups and means that they can keep the JDG stadium in Beijing open for 2 days consecutively rather than having a day on, day off. And it means that people can travel for both days. It's better for ticket sales. It's better for the logistics of it. But it's worse for JDG's prep. They're starting up the Herald now. And no, right here, this is their first series of the week. They've had a lot of back-to-back series, and means that, again, do we actually get false positives or negatives on them? We'll have to wait until playoffs, really. Getting the Herald here, that's a good start.
That it is. Gold leads all across the board right now for JDG, particularly in mid lane, where Honkyu has managed to start pulling ahead in that gold with some good kill involvement. In fact, he's only dropped involvement in 1 kill so far. Will now teleport bot. Zucker trying to get towards this Mega Arm will be denied that for a second or 2 longer. Again, still, Xiaohu's at a decent point in this game. He's been farming all the highest CS in the game, all those good things, but yet to really find his involvement. I think if it does get to 2 items, suddenly Seraphine with double bruises front and the Ashe Azir range, you can start to feel a bit happier, but just getting to that point gets a little harder.
Hang on, Xiaohu's teleporting. The Renekton's not going to be there just yet. Dragon's going to go down. The Renekton doesn't have teleport. If they can rush it now, then they can do it before the Renekton comes into the play.
Herald. Junja comes across the wall, flash for the kick, does get some people through the enemy team, but doesn't really lead to all that much, so it's a little bit of flash, but really nothing in the pan. They get the mid-tier 1, so there is that.
They get that, and they have the Herald, so that's going to charge into mid lane too, so they can actually threaten an inner. That's going to be recall stopped onto the Hang. No, they've already backed. So how do they get out of this? Azir is going to go out. Can they survive with everyone here? They don't have a turret. Junja doesn't have kick. They're hiding out of vision as it stands. I'm surprised they don't lose anyone there, Sam.
I think Meganar coming with the Encore makes it a bit too spicy, especially with them being close to the wall. They get the Herald charge to mid-tier 2, so they do get a lot of plates there still.
They do. All right, so Weibo behind 4K, behind a dragon, but they get the 3rd one, which means that JDG don't threaten that early salt. Next dragon would have been their 4th for JDG if they were to claim this one, which had just gone. So where's that gold lead? A lot of it is in mid lane. Now, about 750 gold. That's about half of that is from farm because it's the TF passive.
Yeah.
For every 100 CS, you get about 500 gold from it. He's getting up to about 200, so he's getting up to like a little below 1,000 right now. So he's more like 700 gold ahead.
Which is still significant.
Which is still significant. It's the first kill, and it's the tower. The Hank Buddy, you can't be there.
Oh, he doesn't have flashed as Junja, so his actual ability to get behind there was somewhat limited. So the Hank gets away with it and puts the ward down, which is kind of nice. Whether they'll be able to defend it or not is another matter. But Junja, you also have to be a little careful about walking forwards there.
Getting to the point where actually the face check of both the Pantheon and the Lee Sin is really scary. Zucker's pushing in the Twisted Fate. The Twisted Fate's not there. A lot of JDG's combos harder to land without that gold card.
Xiaoshu's here. Got a stride breaker. The Scuttlecraft's being fought over, and I think it'll just be given over to Junja here.
Yeah, very good rotation there from JDG. Did see that Zerka doing pretty well, you know, keeping Honky from doing much himself. He's got himself that Lich Bane and the Rod of Ages. He's scary, and we did say that Honky, very, very good TF plays, our best one in the LPL, and I think he's one of the best in the world, perhaps the best in the world. I'd love to see him versus Showmaker, if Showmaker and both him make it internationally. The problem is that it's one of the problems with Fearless. We don't get to see them both playing TF in the series.
It's very annoying.
I know people like Fearless now. I think I want to see people playing their best champions more often because I want to see really good League of Legends with people playing their best champions. Call me a purist, why don't you? Anyway, Junja's up here. JJ is as well defending his mid lane and top lane.
Well, they will do a good job of defending that one. Also, Raiders, hello. We've had a couple of you guys come in, which is very lovely of you all for being here. If you've yet to hit that follow button, please do. We're on the rush for 11,000 followers, and if you're enjoying what you're hearing,
for sure.
Been here a few minutes at this point. You stuck around long enough to listen. Elk has stuck around too long into this turret. Will throw an arrow out, but it's only onto the Milio, and that doesn't really stop anyone doing damage to his head.
Honky, great ult there. You wouldn't think he would dive onto an inner turret, but it works very well. They weren't in position. Great pick off by Honky, again showcasing how good he is at choosing his locations to ult with TF. Again, for someone who's very new to the pro scene, it's only his second year of tier 1 pro play. This guy's got really good game instinct, Sam. He is a real prodigy in the true sense of it. This isn't a person who's like come out of tier 2 and needs like a while to improve. He immediately came out of the woodwork and was just top tier. This guy has been very, very good. Of course, he was in the LCP last year, but he was globally relevant from the LCP, which is a hard thing to do. Thank you for and thank you so much for the follow there too.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Now, for those of you who follow mainly LCK stuff or a bit of a mix of things, basically we will be watching LPL every single day. We'll be casting it like an official broadcast because there is no official broadcast anymore. I've cast several thousand LPL games now since 2023 when I was there as an official caster, and I've started doing it on my own stream here too. Xiao, who's going to get this top lane out turret, some more gold. I'm going to wait for it to die a little bit more slowly. But yeah, if you just want that consistent LPL broadcast experience, we're going to bring that to you here. Junja's going down towards Zerka. He's getting Mega, but can he get it in time?
Gonna be pretty close here. Kicked into the wall, though, and that will deny any turnarounds there. My new follower as well. Dong Dong, I wish I could watch Night Syndra every game. No, I don't blame you. I wish I could do. It's rather good.
Knight's Ari, Faker's is it, Chovy's is it. These great champions. I want to see more of them. The Ashe are going wide. Not quite on the mark there for onto Honky. Elk. Now, we should probably talk about Elk too, because every time I look at Weibo games, eventually we have to come around to the conversation about Elk, because he was on BLG for, the golden era for them. But he wasn't there for the first international tournament because he's been replaced by Viper. And there's, I suppose, no shame in being replaced by one of the greatest AD carries of all time. I think Viper was the best AD carry of 2025. Now on BLG, I actually think his form's been about the place. Actually, I don't think he's been
good, but not great. Yeah.
Well, I would say he's been, for his standards, I would expect a lot more. Now,
I can agree with that.
But any other AD carry standards, yeah, he's doing an awful lot playing in the 1v1, kind of taking the backup role in a way that many AD carries would struggle to do so. But look, Elk was there when they rose to greatness, and the fact that he's now seen them get that success, and now he's stuck in this Weibo with his third support of the year, despite in Split 1, for those of you who didn't watch Split 1, for regular season, he was the best AD carry, I think, maybe in the world.
His Kai'Sa was superb.
His Kai'Sa was getting 15 kills a game, and he played like 5 games of it, so, Yeah. So, can Elk do anything in this team fight? We'll see. His Ashe is still down. Dragon up, JDG looking for that flank on the Renekton.
Xiaoxi with the Mega Shield for about 30 seconds. Dragon coming down. We soul point for JDG. Worth noting, Weibo did get that last Dragon, so will have denied soul point, at least at this point. Look for Honky on the flank. They know he's there. There's the Aegis ult to block out some of the culling. The gold card lands onto the Azir. They got to back off now. That's a lot of damage. Maybe the Seraphine will be enough shield.
They lost the Mega Gnar. The Mega Gnar's been down. It's going to be a 2-1 cooldown. They're not going to be able to get close for the steal. Weibo's objective fights haven't been great, Sam. I think that timing the Mega Gnar there incorrectly is a huge negative to them. They spotted it out with the TF ult, so it's not like they were playing with any kind of like hidden mind games or anything. Weibo just walk up and they do something. So if you haven't seen us on the channel, we refer to something called Safari League of Legends, where if you look to your left, you'll see this wonderful wildlife. Don't interact with it. Of course, no, you'll see this wonderful dragon. Don't touch it. Don't go towards it.
No.
We're here to watch the dragon, not kill the dragon or anyone around it. That's Safari League of Legends. You go to watch the wildlife, you don't interact.
And here we have the wild enemy team working together to bring down the large apex predator.
The migration of the jungler from the bot river back to base and then back onto the map. How extraordinary.
Happy 100th birthday to David Attenborough, wherever you are, by the way.
I grew up on Blue Planet, man.
I know.
I grew up on that stuff. Fantastic narrator. The greatest narrator of all time.
I've been trying to find a soundbite, Alex.
Yeah?
And it's the old BBC documentary soundbite from Blue Planet.
yeah.
Do-do-do-do-do.
I don't remember what you're actually thinking about,
It's
but I
only
remember
when the
there being
BBC
one.
logo comes up and there's the
Sam,
big wavy...
I don't remember it, Sam. I remember the Eyewitness one. I'm gonna stop it there. But
that one I found. I found that one. I haven't found the BBC noise.
Fantastic.
It's like
I have
90s.
very fond memories of it, and I do like documentaries, Sam. I'm a big fan of them. And Eyewitness, that was when like you had a substitute teacher. They'd wheel out like the cathode ray tube TV, the big old box, and they just put something on to like distract you for half an hour. Great stuff. Gosh. Okay, so the game slowed down because the dragon's off and we're playing around Dragon Timers. It's a 6,000 gold lead for JDG, and this time Weibo are finding it much harder to stand on the objectives. That's Xiaoshu on a flank. He does have ultimate ready if he wants it. His Rage is in an okay spot. He could pop the ult. Rage is starting to ebb away now. He'd have to start popping his ult early to get back up towards red.
The thing is, I thought that JDG were going to get outranged. And in some ways they are, but Honku being so fair with the rapid fire cannon means that these are just so much damage.
Wait, I need to roast Sam's impression. I think it does it himself, right? You know? Like, I mean,
I can't hear you over
Sam,
my incredible
Sam,
impression.
we were asking for, like, you know, like David Attenborough, not like dusted up lungs, Sam. Right. Dolcar potentially coming up on Zucker, hops away, has the Tabby, not the Merc Tread, so he takes the full duration of the CC.
Yeah, well, Zareth just doesn't know impressions clearly.
Now, he does have tenacity from the Stags, though, it's worth noting.
That's
And blue buff taken by JDG. Next goal cornerstone to the Azir.
Does manage to slide away, though. Gets McHale'd up. That gets him out to safety, so they can't quite get what they're looking for.
That was genuinely quite scary there. Honkyu, this is the point of the game. 3-item Twisted Fate where he is at his strongest. And Honkyu is very, very strong on the Azir. Anyway, that arrow is going towards the Renekton. Misses.
Thought it was a wide angle and I had kind of lost track of where Xiaoshu was and gets away with an attempted look in there. Thank you for the follows again, guys. Just mean a hell of a lot. And it goes, if you have not done so again, I will just a shout out. Always appreciate it to those who do join us.
Getting pretty hyped though these last few plays, which have ended up in nothing. So I've been jumping up in volume just because you can see how quickly these plays can elapse, right? Where you know, an Asher can come out of nowhere, an Encore potentially could do too. Now JDG kind of need to look for those quick plays because their full engage is just the gold card. It's very hard to play around anything else. You've got your Renekton flanks. That's the other big thing. Xiaoshu will be looking for those later into the game, and he does have a good amount of gold to spend with that. The Stridebreaker Shojin is a very powerful build to work with there. It doesn't feel like a 6k gold lead because JDG can't really leverage it that impactfully.
No, I agree. And again, they are still scary, and they've got gold in good places. But there is this world where I think turning up these objectives and not zoning Weibo off will be problematic. We are still going to see a forced fight realistically in a minute or so because it will be sold for JDG. And I think if they get that, things get scary. Garlic just got Infinity Edge. We've got the 3 items on Honkyu as well, which is kind of his most obnoxious point of power. We're about ready to go here, and it'll just be the 2 items from Weibo, and that'll just have to be enough for them.
I really like the fact that Gala did go for the rapid fire cannon, not the flicker blades in this game, because you're not going to get that much uptime because you don't have that much CC. So having the very long range Milio campfire plus fire cannon allows you to have a double tap of very high power to look for poke effectively from the Lucian, who's traditionally quite ultimate gated with that. When you have fire cannon and campfire, you can get poke on a much lower cooldown. Dragon in less than a minute now, as you were highlighting, and Weibo, well, they don't really have many inroads. They just have to give Soul. It is a Cloud Soul, but I hate a TF with Cloud Soul running at me, Sam. He's got enough move speed already from the Lich Bane and the Fire Cannon.
One Gala needs to be a bit careful stepping forwards there. The arrows start flying on through. Immediately, Mikhail, the Encore lands onto the Milio. But where the hell are you going, JJ? Just dies a horrible death diving under the turret. The Azir will try and disengage somewhat. Honku gets rooted up. Will need to try and dash away, get shielded by the safeguard. And JDG just wrecked the fight. I think they went looking, did old Weibo, and found very little but disaster.
Yeah, JJ gets kicked under the tower by Ginger. That's why it looks like he overdives. He got Dragon's Rage on his ass under the turret. That's going to be Soul. It's going to be a bunch of gold. Honky gets the fire cannon over the wall. The Q lands, and Zucker's probably dying here too. It's going to be a 5 for none. Weibo, they tried to last as long as they could, but the gold was too much to bear. JDG will walk away with a full ace and the Soul.
That is looking like we're going to game 3. Make no mistake about it. Another team fight goes the way of JDG, with Weibo kind of being stalled out somewhat, and life is not looking great as Weibo fans.
So we're likely going to a game 3 now, Sam. Now, JDG got blasted by JJ in game 1. Ginger has had a great comeback here. Now, if you watch here, they did fly in with the Pantheon, just gets kicked right under the turret. Into the Milio Q, the Lee Sin Q, full CC, doesn't get a single empowered ability. Xiaoxu flashes in for the Stride Breaker slow onto 4 people. They get the gold card in. It's a very good response. You could see that the Pantheon ult was really looking for something, but the disengage and the counterpunch was just far too effective.
And now it's a 10,000 or gold lead. There'll be Baron, I suspect, having come back from live. No, they've not taken that. I wonder whether they might have, but literally as we're talking about it, there's the start of Weibo going to try and contest. Well, they're going to TP. Here we go.
Okay, Honkyu does have his ultimate coming back up now. The Baron does not go down. Honkyu has a 10-stack Magi, by the way. Now, that means he has the extra 10% movement speed on that, and then also has his Cloud Soul as well. So Honkyu is going to be moving around at, what, like 600 move speed or something like that? Now, far too much, basically. Look how fast he is.
He's so quick. Well, that's going to make things very tricky. Mid lane we go. It's Weibo trying to shove up here, but this was the scene of the disaster. Here comes the Destiny Gate. Xiaoxu on the flag. Oh, no! It's just rinse and repeat, and I think Weibo Gaming are being washed up and washed out of this one. They'll try and find a little bit of something. It's not bad for a second or two, but realistically, everyone gets melted. They don't even lose a single member, and JDG will march down mid lane. Baron not required. Game is over.
Yeah, Honkyu walks up with like 600 move speed, just flies into the backline. Junja with an excellent Lee Sin game. The only member of JDG to die in game 2 is Xiaoxu, who was canked by 3-bad early, and Weibo will be blasted in much more dominant fashion than their game 1 victory.
That brings us to a third and deciding game. JDG still fighting for second place here. That game 1 loss will hurt them on that front. Victory in game 2 will ensure no ignominy so far. They find solid response from our Weibo fans today. They're a little excited by some of these flexes around. I think if JDG find their way to a front to back with some of their CC chains, it's going to get pretty obnoxious. But I appreciate the fact we've seen the Jace flex. It's been a hot minute since we've seen the jungle options. Gone for the Scorch Claw and didn't see what runes he was running.
Guess we'll catch up with that a little bit later. It looks like the overlay is actually broken in terms of those runes. That is what they are. It's the Doran's Helm, by the way, for the Cassante game. We're seeing a lot of this specifically on Cassante, which helps him with some of those early stats. Only gives you resist, doesn't give you any of the like the regen that the Doran's Shield does, which most melee laners have been running. Very interested to see how Honkyu and Xiaohu interact in this lane, because Xiaohu's Rise has actually been very, very good this split on the whole. And it's not an answer to the Rise. The Rise just kind of scales up for free, but I don't think the Rise should really be threatening the Talia.
Okay, so Jace is doing one side reset for longsword and coming back out. He still feels like he can do that.
Yeah, so this is something which a lot of our junglers in LPL would do on Zed, on Kiana, on Neferi. We'd see it for a lot of our early AD kind of double longsword builders when they built towards with something like, I mean, in this case it'd be Cyclosword, right? But back then it was something like Hubris or going towards your first lethality item. Do that quite a lot there, really. Early push in from the Caitlyn Bard, no surprises there, even though the Ezreal Nico's quite good at that. JJ, it's not a bad first clear from him. Has recalled, of course, for that first longsword, as you were saying. Ginger double camping is going to be ahead on the clear, which means he will be available on bot side, level 4, earlier than JJ.
See whether we're going to see a fight over this Scuttle Crab or not. There'll be some smites available from our junglers, and see whether that leads to any real contest. Because again, it might be just one of those ones where they see each other and go, cool, I'll trade for the other Scuttle Crab.
So he'd have to smite. He actually would have to smite for this. He has to do it pretty soon, actually, too. There you go. He's not going to have smite for the Scuttle contested. Ginger won't be able to stop JJ from getting his full clear. It's going to be single Scuttle each. He didn't use his smite on his first camp, so we will have it for the Scuttle on top side. Although Ginger is not going to smite this, he can actually potentially smite top Scuttle now if he goes to contest it. So he would have to teleport in to help him contest for that, though.
Grim Deliverance comes on forwards. There's a dreaded return. That's the one. Grim Deliverance with the ultimate just going to pull back onto Zaku. He's got that passive stack, makes things a little bit spicier. The Jace is going to shove that Scuttle Crab towards the top of the lane and away from the Skarner where possible. In the river, I'm assuming Jace is going to pick this one
well,
up.
We're not seeing it right now. He's just smarted it there. That was a little bit, it's actually a little bit spooky. The reason why you can get that is because Xiaohu ended up getting a little bit of a leg up on Honky. He propped the Ghost even to help with that. I don't know whether that was used to kind of chase off Jundra or whether that was to stop Honky. A part of that early lane. That was actually quite important. It wasn't shown on camera, but the mid lane early on has actually been going very well for Xiaohu compared to Honkyu in this series.
So far, so good for Xiaohu on that end. Jace managed to come back out, pick up that early set of wraps, get rid of some of these wards. We'll probably pick up what I imagine will be the Krugs reset and then look to impact the bot side of the map where possible. Again, with the Nico down there, theoretically, able to follow up as a Jason Blood, but it's a relatively squishy lane.
Really want to shout out to someone in our YouTube chat, Coach Diedzba, who's come up with a really good thing for the Nico here. Nico is valuable this game for getting rid of traps and things like that. I think that makes a lot of sense. Technically, you can run over stuff like bar shrines too, but getting rid of Caitlyn traps, that's actually very important here. Vampire not going to get the Q. Does get rooted there. Not going to get too much damage. Only early levels here. They only the rank 1 of the Q from the Hank. Bot lane, 10 CS lead. Again, kind of expected from Caitlyn lane. It's going to be evened up to about, suppose, just a little less than 10, about 5. So about a 1-wave advantage as the wave crashes in.
Likely be that indeed. I don't see what skin Gala's running. That's not one of the Caitlyn skins I'm completely aware of. Give a look forward there. It's got the Darking Glaive as opposed to Darking Blade on the Q, which is always a fun one.
Yes, it's kind of like a mini Shinzao Q, pretty much. Well, because basically the same bloke. Hang on, jumping onto JDG, gets wall stunned by the Talia.
That's a bit dangerous. Has to flash, gets out there as Honku does find a good Weaver's Wall angle to make things a little bit spicy.
Jesus.
Build your own wall causes JJ some strife.
I gotta say, it's build your own wall stun combo. The Talia ult comes across, combos up with Junja with the Excel's impact. JJ, scary there, actually. It's going towards his Dirk first item. So no surprises on that one. Means he's not going for the Voltaic first item. He might go towards the Ghost Blade, probably for mobility. Hopefully, yeah, it just helps you with that ability to kind of get out of the initial threatening play, because Jace often has to go glass cannon. It's a big problem for him. Xiaohu kind of behind in that play a little bit on Honky. Good first ult of the game from Honky, despite the fact that he was used in his lane.
Rune Prison lands onto Honky after an Overload and a Spell Flux. Other way around, Spell Flux and Overload. EQ, EQ. Somewhere out there, the Rise Main's Reddit wakes up from its deep slumber.
EQ, EQ, EQ.
That was a great video.
Yeah, someone like hired like one of the really famous like cameo like people to go do the EQ.
Attention all Rise Mains.
EQ.
If you've not seen it, guys, you need to see it.
It's Q, E, Q, E, well, it's Q, E, W, Q a lot of the time. Depends. I've been learning little bits and pieces about Rise. Rise is a very complicated champion. I never really put that much time into him because, to be honest, I wasn't about the Blue Man Group life. Also, he was just really annoying for the many early years of League history. It's Firecracker Caitlyn, by the way, as Chaz pointed out. I have to say, I lost track of a couple of the skins over the years too. I forgot about that one, but it has some really cool sound effects.
Yeah, barrier pop there by the side of Elk to deal with the ace in the hole that came on forward, because Gala did hit level 6 first. So, summoner earned there by the bot lane of JDG.
I don't know if they win this series. I suppose in terms of stakes, it does give them a chance to fight for 5th, depending on how NIP play out their last series, because they're 1 series off of finishing, so they only have 1 series left. But if they Weibo him win, there's a good chance they finish 5th, 6th, because IG and NIP both have series left to play. There's a chance they can kind of leapfrog them. NIP played WE, which is, you know, thereabouts. Oh, they're trying to think that NIP.
There was a team that WE could be, NIP's
If they low roll, there's a chance. IG played JDG.
That's a little bit harder for
but then again, IG do have a weird kind of bogey team record against JDG, but with Nia playing, it's a little bit harder. Oh, potential gank around the back here from Junja.
So Jay's coming down, doesn't have any move speed bonuses. They'll see them now, but there's going to be an Impale likely. Elk's going to have to dodge away. Unfortunately for the side of the Hank, though, the Impale will skewer that Nico and ensure the death of the Shape
He tried to get the clone to interact with the Skarner, didn't quite time it right. I think he would have been able to flash out of the ult afterwards from that point, so a bit of a mechanical misplay from the Hank. Good idea, but not quite executing on it. Kill goes to Gala, unfortunately. Gala's been good in the last week or two. I think that he's been inconsistent before that point. I understand why people have held that against him. But I think that Gala, now with a lead, getting up towards his first time, that's going to be a problem. Now, what they're highlighting on screen here from the Talia is the fact that Talia's Q got buffed. 5 damage per stone at all ranks, basically. And you think how many times you're throwing out your Q with the threaded volley, it really does make a difference there.
Yeah, very much so, especially when you're looking for those early wave clear breakpoints and that kind of thing, or just early chunk trades when you don't have as much HP to work with. All of those things feel quite good. Has gone airy, no Deathfire touch, which I wondered whether the Talia might look towards, but just wants that a little bit of additional safety here and there.
How does... Hang on a second, Jidder's going to walk into Vampire and Honkyu. Not going to be wall stunned this time. Shock Blast back.
Used to jump through the magical journey. A magical journey. We're going to see the Leo Pleurodon. JJ needs to back away here a little bit and does have that ability to accelerate a Shock Blast if required. Will not need to.
Got flicked back by Honkyu. Good combo from him. Of course, Honkyu last year, pretty big Talia player himself. Played a bit of it in Split 1 when the Talia was a bit more around. Fell off quite a lot because it felt like the damage just wasn't there. The damage onto JJ means that I'm not sure Weibo can really contest these grubs, actually. Yeah, he has to back. That's going to be 3 grubs to the side of JDG because of a very good combo from Honkyu onto JJ.
Question in chat as well, do they reckon that JDG Gala plays, or they're better at JDG are better playing through Gala than LNG, where?
No, is JDG Gala playing better than LNG Gala? So in terms of, that's how I've read that anyway. No, LNG Gala I think was better. LNG Gala was more consistent. I think that he was actually more varied. He was one of the best Kaisers and Ziggs in the league, but also was a very good Zeri at the same time. I think that LNG Gala was really, really good. Now, of course, international player side, it kind of sucked for him, right? But I think that actually Gala was very, very good on LNG. It's going to be 2 grubs to the side of JDG, 1 to the side of Weibo as JJ gets the last one.
Does indeed come on over. Has now got that Ghost Blade worth noting. Kasante's first item, Thornmail, into the Zahen, who does like a little bit of sustain. So just dealing with that one where they can. Again, it's a largely AD-heavy team with the exception of the Talia. Yes, I know Skarner strictly does magic damage, but does he really?
No, it's mainly the physical damage, isn't it? It's just like, yep, cool, I'm just going to hit you with the random stuff. Scales with HP, so he gets to be a tank and do damage for some reason.
Like, I know his passive, which is like, it's like the...
Tremors.
The seismic, yeah, it's a tremor. Is it Tresma Threads? Or Seismic Threads? The Seismic Blast, Tremor Threads, that's the one.
Tremor Threads?
Yes, it is.
Huh.
It's like it does magic damage but scales off HP.
Once again, Elk uses the barrier onto the Caitlyn ult. He's just using that to make sure he doesn't get chunked out. He doesn't have any sustain in the kit, so he wants to make sure he's topped up as much as possible. Dragon in less than a minute. Weibo got the first one. Probably will be a contest based on the rest of the games of series. JJ doesn't. Oh, he does have flash. Might need to use it.
Does manage to get out. The Pop Blossom turns around, but now the Hank's in a dangerous spot, but dodges the Tempered Fate. The Impale will land, but now Junja's eating quite a lot of damage from Elf, but they'll bring down the Nico. Shahu looking for a fair amount of damage. Got the Ghost rolling, and the Essence Flux is coming on down. The Overload is wide, though. Now Gala's in danger. The Shock Blast takes his head off. Now Vampire trying to trade out will flash over the wall and survive.
Yeah, Weibo, not a bad first play. The Hank goes in with a flash ultimate. He dies for it, but killing Gala on the other side, that's a worthy trade. Kill goes to JJ. The Jace really does like using that gold, of course, too. Xiaohu, good first realm warp of the game from him. It's a bit of a reality check for JDG. Early on into the game, there's quite a lot of damage here from Weibo, and that won't change for a lot of this game, actually. Rise is going to be scary throughout, and this is the kind of a game where if Ezreal gets to kind of escape the first engage, can be quite threatening.
The plan, out comes the Pathmaker. Good damage forwards. Need to look to see whether they can be a pull back here or not. Going to happen for now, and really is just that slight goldie to JDG, but a moment in the river there where things got a bit dicey.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the gold has come from Gala from plates in that first kill, but JJ's got himself Ghost Blade. He's going to get himself another pickaxe on top of that. Jace jungle, the reason why it was so effective is that it's very hard to stop him from getting poked from the jungle roll because you get to pick a tank in top lane, actually. You know, now you have Cassandra that can sit there. Jace can just sit there, layer through a Shock Blast or 2, go for the Ezreal poke as well. Misses the Shock Blast there, but chance of JJ actually doing some real damage here. We're going to go for a Dragonflight proper, it looks like.
Back away, turns to the melee form and backs away. Don't know whether they do want to keep playing this. Again, when you've got the Ezreal, you've got the Jace, you do have a fair amount of poke. I just don't know whether it's going to be as scary at this point. Only the one item marks. It might be in another scenario. The Shock Blast does land on the Gala. Good news. True Shot Barrage also tags. Temper Fate
goes on to the Nico. Do they really want to engage onto the support, though? Not sure. Good damage!
Oh my days, yeah, they do. They managed to get the Caitlyn trap headshot combos off, and goodbye, Nico.
Well, there you go. Good Shock Blast onto 3. Rise isn't walking over. I think Weibo could have contested that, Sam. With a flash on Rise, I think he could have just come around the corner and caused some issues. Flash out of the
Skarner ult if it was aimed at him. I think Xiaohu rather should have come down to that play. It's a free kill and a Dragon over to the side of JDG now. But as we've said, Dragon contests have kind of been their Achilles heel. It's not been where they're finding successes.
Agree, it's not been what they needed to find, and that's made things a little bit tricky. I appreciate the look in, but Xiaohu not there, either because he didn't want to drop the wave or because they thought they could contest with just a few people there. But it does lead to a death, it does lead to the Dragon, and that, for JDG, only a mild amount of gold up, but a amount of gold up it is.
Yeah, Vampire doesn't spot out the Hank there. Xiaohu gonna wave clear through. People are commenting on the healing boots from Elk and from Gala actually as well on the other side. Now, again, I saw that Jack Spectre was really criticizing AD carries from building this. I'm gonna push back on that, and I understand his reasoning mathematically for it. But the reason why I like the cooldown boots on AD carries is it means that a lot of AD carries who already struggle to get sustain in their kit early, get it early on into the game, and it's very cheap. It gives you a lot of value before the nerfs come through. I think next patch it won't be nearly as impactful. But for a champion like Ezreal, up until third item when you get Endless Hunger, and only when you really complete that item, you don't have any sustain in the kit. And that means that if a Caitlyn lands an ult on you, well, you just take that damage for free. Having the Gluttonous Greaves and potentially stacking it up earlier too, because you need to get some extra kills and assists to stack it up to the full amount of Omnivamp, I think actually gives you a lot of value on the item. I understand mathematically that a lot of boots can give a lot of different value to AD carries, but I think actually in this case, I do actually think Gluttonous Greaves are somewhat overlooked for what they provide in a niche which AD carries can sometimes struggle to fill.
That's the one. Mr. Anderson in chat is asking about how the Hank has been.
Nicht sehr gut. Ja. Kein Problem. Keines Problem. Yeah, it's a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
He's not been great.
No, he's not.
He's yeah, I would say he's been the worst of the three supports that Weibo have played with this year. I think that Erho was the best, then Hung, despite the fact that Hung was not very good at the start of the split. Now, I think that the difference is JJ plays better with Erho and the Hank than you did with Hung. Even though Hung was actually okay towards his last few series, and I think that Erho was just better in general, and that JJ has been playing better with the different supports. I think that Hung, one of the big reasons I can understand him going is the fact that actually I just don't think that JJ was having the same impact. I think the jungle support synergy had fallen apart somewhat.
Mike J. Anderson, I feel like I failed you because I meant to go Neo in chat, Mr. Anderson. Would have been a good one because then you could have made the joke about Agent Smith and Mr. Anderson references, and we didn't do that because I didn't quite get the delivery
I think
correct.
That a Matrix made today would be very different because instead of going through like the phone boxes, you just have a smartphone and be like, hey, you're up. I feel like it does away with a lot of the setting. Yeah. But if it was done like, however long before, imagine having to do it through a fax machine, man. I mean, they were around at the same time as telephones. In fact, they came a little
dial-up tone.
Yeah. It's like, oh man, someone picked up the receiver on the phone. Don't have any internet anymore.
My soul is lost in the ether.
Yeah. Carl takes a bit of damage there from JJ. Does again. He has the cooldown boots, the sustain boots as well. Does definitely help. Alex trying to get some value there, clearing up this wave. Gala having a pretty good series so far. The first game lost was not on him. Game 2 was very impactful for the whole team, really.
Gosh, you're just sliding over the Aureate Rush. Great name. There was actually a fourth Matrix movie, which I didn't watch.
Yeah, Resurrections, right?
Was it any good?
I didn't watch it, I can't tell you. Yeah, it's one of those movies which is going to be so hard for people to judge unbiasedly, either from nostalgia or from whatever reason. That I'm not sure I can accurately judge it, Sam.
Fair enough. I hear you.
I'm glad you do, otherwise we'd have a problem. Communicate through smoke signals.
What?
Must have been the wind. Xiao has the swiftness boots on the rise, is worth noting, by the way. A little bit more ability to chase, to kite, to dodge skill shots, which he didn't do that. Does have the ghost. Herald started. If he recalls here, then he won't be able to fight. I'm not sure Weibo are in position to contest this very well. Top lane is still locked in bot lane. Going to use the clone to get rid of that trap. Bard ult goes completely wide. That's a good combo there, though.
Here comes the Pot Blossom. The Hank goes in. We'll die for it. Just get a route onto the Hong Q, but that's kind of it. The Herald comes down. Weibo Gaming again with a very poor objective contest. Come in late. Don't find what they're looking for. Xiaohu now on the wrong side of the wall. Does manage to speed away from the seismic shove, but that's that.
Herald's been summoned in mid lane, and both supports kind of take a turn of going, well, whoopsie. Hang on, there's an all-out and bot side from Zerka onto Xiaohu. Xiaohu coming down does have a you know, the last of that ghost helping him roam down there. It's just going to force him off the turret. So Weibo weren't really in position to contest. They did use the Nico clone to clear out a Caitlyn trap line, as highlighted in chat earlier. That's actually very good usage of it. And then the Hank just has no follow-up. He goes in, flashes in for an ultimate that no one can follow and dies. I mean, this is not a good look. He's 0-4 in 18 minutes, Sam. That is just not a good look.
Yes, it is quite poor, it must be said. And this has not been a particularly good series from him. All the deaths of JDG have managed to accrue from Weibo have been onto the Hank. They might the kills is the way that should be phrased, but still the point is the Hank has died every time for his team.
Hanker S. That'd be a fun moat. Hanker S. Anyway, Dragons are going to get started. And I just don't think that Weibo have set up very well for these objectives. They're going, JD is going towards the Voltaic second item. Ryze is going to try and clear through this wave. Won't be able to, so Xiaoxu will get that turret for free. And JDG just feels like just walking to an over map, setting down presence. They're not a crazy amount of gold ahead, but it's enough. And Weibo, they look a bit lost, Sam. I don't think they're contesting very well. This feels like a lot of how their lost games have gone in this split, which has been, objectives up, should we walk over to it? And they haven't planned in advance.
No, all right then.
Yeah, it's like, okay, we'll try. And then
just one more beer.
It hasn't really worked out very effectively for them.
And the problem is that they're going to the river second versus Caitlyn traps, Unraveled Earth, Bard threatening with a Tempered Fate, the Skarner to catch someone up as you go into them as well, and that just doesn't sound great fun. Yes, you've got the Ezreal. Yes, you've got the Jace. That's good poke. You can theoretically full send with a Nico to try and get in, but I do think it's not going to be that simple to close the distance. And as it stands, the poke isn't threatening enough to force people off the ults, dodge away from the Tempered Fate. Now, Vampire's actually possibly in a spot of bother, just have that Essence Flux on top of him, and Elk is threatening best he can.
Yeah, it's not been the best ult accuracy. He had that 1-on-2 bot lane dragon fight, bot river, right? Really caught out the Hank. The other ultimates from Vampire has not been fantastic. Still 2-0-2, though. Not a bad game from him, but when those ultimates start landing, that's when we'll start to see the real value of this pick. Shock Blast landing on target. Ow, that hurts. W's on target. If that had hit, that actually was very close to a kill. Might have forced a barrier actually out of Garlet.
I say a flash EQ probably does him, actually. It won't happen there all the same. I appreciate the attempt. And again, the Voltaic Cycle Sword is done for Jace, by the by. You may have noticed.
Yes, that one hurts a lot. And because Jace fires a Shock Blast fairly long cooldown, it means that when the second Shock Blast comes up, his second Voltaic proc is often up too, because it's an energized auto, right? And it gives you... So it has base... 10 lethality, gives you 15 when you hit an ability or an auto attack on someone, because it's like an energized auto attack, like a fire cannon or a shiv, and that means that the Voltaic kind of goes wild for Jace specifically because it applies on every Shock Blast in an artillery poke situation.
And I think considering the game state, you really just need to none of this Edge of Night business. We are going to Cyrilda's. We are trying to hit people as hard as possible.
He might go Edge of Night third so he can stop the Bard ult from long range. That's probably what he will do. So he will do that at some point, I think so. I'm so sorry.
No, but he should do it. He should basically, you can do that for them. I just fear from the game state that they're in. Like, yes, there's a gold lead. No, they're not really. Like, I feel like that gold lead is a bit fake, and they really need JDG to just be dangerous. And the Cyrilda's help more than the Edge of Night.
And if he lands Shock Blast onto Gala, that is a huge factor for them. Onto Honkyu as well. If he manages to weave it beyond the front line onto the back line, there's a chance that the Nico can cause problems too. It's that chilling smite, and Ezreal stands there and delivers. That's the Shock Blast. That's half the HP with the Scorch Claw after.
Yeah, and the burn keeps going for a bit, and now Gala's just left there going, wait, what do I do with this? That's really obnoxious.
Well, and this is why you go for the healing boots. This is why you go Gluttonous Greaves. The red buff can also help you regen out of combat too, because it gives you that healing out of combat. So both Elk and Gala kind of dealing with that their own way, because the Caitlyn's poking out the Ezreal, the Jace poking out the Caitlyn, and everyone's trying to heal up beyond that point. That's why Ravenous Hydra was so big too, actually. Not Ravenous Hydra, Ravenous Hunter, rather, back when it was so big back in the day, because it just gave you that ability to kind of shrug off the occasional poke you'd find in meta at that point.
You got these longswords turn into, it will be that last whisper on longsword. God bless, I was right.
I'm just saying, Sam, if he gets hit by a Bard ult now, he's gonna die.
He will die a horrible death. You're absolutely right. And the Edge of Night is indeed valuable this game. You're not wrong. And you know, I don't disagree with the theory.
Okay, so 2 items for Elk, 2.5 for JJ. I mean, JJ has been so good for Weibo, and I think a lot of people have overlooked JJ too, because, you know, Weibo have not been winning very much in terms of series. JJ is still very much a very good jungler here in the LPL. Like I said, I think we have some of the very best junglers in the world here in the LPL, whether that's Tarzan or JJ or Junja or I was about to say Tarzan again, Shun, of course, in there too. Tarzan deserves a second notice.
He's rather good, yeah.
He's rather good. But right here, it does feel like JDG are just better at walking across the map. It's been a slow burn, but they do end up getting themselves all 3 out of turrets, whereas Weibo just have the 1 right now in top lane. They'd really like to get some turrets to give themselves a bit more presence on the map, because now they're really at danger of the Bard and the Toscana terrain scaling, both coming through walls at once, and the Bard ultimate really catching them out.
Plan. So, 40 seconds until Dragon. I think Wave at this point, their resets will have to have been considered done. We stay on the map, we try and get control, be in the river first once, rather than coming in later, because you want to be there with vision control, throwing out these nasty shot blasts, throwing up the 2-item Ezreal WQs, and trying to hit people like Gala and take them out of a fight before one can begin.
I do think that Zucker's in a real position to do some damage here too. He's had a very clean game on the Cassandra. See if Xiaoshu can get into the backline too. Again, we've noted that his Zahen's been really good at points before. Elk's actually going to jump forward because he's there. The shock blast very nearly lands. That could have been a dead Gala, Sam.
Q still lands from Elk and puts him a little lower than I think he would like. Jun just now going to look for Elk, but he decides to Arcane Shift away. Seismic Bastion on. The shot blast just wide there that time. TP from Zucker in with a big old shield. Dragon spawns in 3 seconds.
Gala's healed up a little bit. Does have the heal from Vampire to work with as well. He's going to regen up as best he can. JJ, these shock blasts have got to get some value. They're onto the Dragon first. Did say that Dragon fight's not been Weibo's specialty. Now we see JDG forcing their way into the river.
Elk's going to get jumped on. Will take a little bit of damage because he's not there, but Zucker now front line. He's got a big old shield though. Can still footwork out here. The True Shot Barrage tags a couple, but Xiao has his own shield to immune a fair amount of that damage. Dragon secured by JJ. Xiao, who got left low though because he got Seismic Shove across the wall. Zucker in the front line will need to try and Realm Warp out with his fellow solo lane, and will do so. Xiaoshu eats an accelerated shock blast and loses about a third. Make that half of his HP bar across.
That was a good Realm Warp there. That was a good Realm Warp. That's a very clean extrication from the Dragon. Weibo get it. I think a lot of it was helped by the fact that Gala was chunked out so heavily. But you'll notice that I keep calling them cooldown boots. The healing boots, the Gluttonous Greaves, getting some really good value actually for him there. Just meaning that it doesn't have to be the end of the fight if he's poked out. Very importantly for him, he's managed to stack them up better than Elk has as well. For those of you that don't know, it's much like the Bloodthirster of old, where that's Season 3, where you have to get kills to give yourself extra Omnivamp, and it stacks out at, I think in this patch, it's before the hotfix, or before the nerf, where you have to stack it like 10 times. Now it's just like 5 times to get up to the 10% Omnivamp, something close to that.
I'm not sure you do get to the max 10 anymore, do you? It nerfed the amount of healing. Don't you have to flash out that Tempered Fate? Wish you had an Edge of Night now, I guess.
Exactly. Exactly.
Either way, just get away. But here comes the Weaver's Wall. Xiao, who gonna sort of get the Rune Prison onto Honk. You actually delays him coming in a little bit there. Good damage on that wall there. Looks for a shift forwards. Elk seeing some of those cooldowns being down, and they accelerated shot blast after leaves Honky at 10%.
Okay, so if JDG don't land the engage, the damage is there now from Weibo. And we were saying, well, the gold lead feels perhaps a bit flimsy for now. Now it feels pretty good. They're getting those second and third items in, of course, over the last few minutes. Another shot blast. The accuracy is pretty good. There goes Xiaoshu, though.
Goes getting to that backline, the Grim Deliverance, but the Arcane Shift out, and now poor old Xiaoshu not having fun. He doesn't get his passive because he gets CC'd for too long on the flank. Xiaohu gets dragged away, but not gone down. The body block from the clone is making Gala's life a little tricky. True Shot Barrage comes flying across, footwork away from the Seismic Shot.
I love how he had to Protobell away from the damn Cassandra in melee range of him. Weibo, good damage again. The shock blasts are really hurting, but JJ dies. It's a 1-for-1. Xiaoshu gets full CC'd before he can get his passive off. Quite scary, actually, that JJ dies there. And I think that would have been a shutdown over to the Caitlyn. That's a problem, actually. That's some good damage. Good gold.
Going down, actually.
Me neither, but guess we'll see that in the replay. So the Hank gets his ultimate kind of immuned by the Cassandra, but then Zuko has his doubly charged up already. So what happens to JJ? He gets killed. Again, Edge of Night value, Sam. If he'd had the flash, would have lived. Yeah. I'm just saying, it's a pretty good item in a game like this.
It is indeed. We'll see whether the Cyril proves its value in the long term with the extra damage or not. Right now, cost 1 death. Theoretically, assuming it hadn't been blown beforehand, actually, because but we'll see, I suppose.
Yeah, but if it had been blown beforehand, you would have had the flash.
Well, he had to blow it, yeah.
Exactly, that's where he had to blow it. Of course, well, actually, one of the problems with him going in Edge of Night now is that Protobelt's one of the best spell shield blowers in the game. Although, for Jace specifically, he's so long range, you're actually out range of Rocket Belt for a lot of the time. He's about to get himself his Cyrildas. Once he gets that in, he's going to really, really hurt even beyond what she has now.
Endless Hunger done for Elk. He's got a second tier stacking because obviously the Seraphs has become an additional item for Ezreal. It's something like 5th after the Cyrildas.
I actually think you should go at 4th here. Yeah, just go for it 4th. There's not a huge amount of armor, right? Because there's loads of Merc Treads. I mean, the Cyrildas is good for Jace because he's looking for like optimum damage there. But I think that Seraphs for the shield and the AP scaling, particularly with on this patch, the Cyril's just completed by JJ there. If this game goes long, Ezreal with double tier absolutely slaps. I think that's a great build from Elk. It gives him the late game insurance.
That's the plan. May need to get there. Of course, got a minute and a half until the next Dragon. 1,400 gold lead to Weibo, but they don't have a lot of turrets to work with, making things a bit difficult.
Weibo should look for the poke in the next Dragon, but not die for it. They can give one over, and if that allows them to get a double tier Ezreal for the actual dragon fight, which determines the game, which would be the one beyond this if they were to ignore this one, then I think Weibo actually have the advantage. Double tier Ezreal, for those of you who missed it in, was it 2020 or so that we started seeing that build come through? Utterly disgusting, because both the Muramana and the Seraphs end up scaling off of your total mana, which both of them have a huge amount from. You get a lot of AP, a lot of AD, you get a shield, and the mana on hit. It goes turbo into late game for an Ezreal, who's often been kind of pigeonholed in as a bit of a mid-game carry. This makes him into a much more late game threat.
JJ's already chunked Vampire a little bit beforehand. Shot blast just wide there. Again, part of that's just they're on vision right now. Dragon 30 seconds away. The Realm War behind. Gala's in danger. Needs to try and find his way out. Magical journey for the bit, but a flash on in from Zucker. The seismic shove finds a bit of time. The shockwave lands, but it's onto the best target. Junja gets kind of caught out mid-ult there and gets
Xiaohu!
Xiaohu's in danger in the back line. He's trying to blow up Gala. The overloads. JJ's killed off the Skarner. Xiaohu's still surviving. Seismic shards flying around with the threaded volley, and Xiaohu survives. The footwork shield overloads complete.
Weibo just got 4 kills for none. They can get Dragon, they can get Baron, Sam, they can get whatever the hell they want to. That is a top tier Realm Warp. Xiaohu goes into the backline. I think it was 1v4, and he utterly explodes the backline. It was a really good initial pick off. The Realm Warp ended up getting Gala, over the wall. That was the first initial Realm Warp. But he just goes into the backline around the flank, flashes in, and goes man mode. Well, watch this again. This is the first Realm Warp here. Brings the Cassandra into the play as long as himself. Behind Gala, puts him into an awful position. He has flash, it just doesn't matter. Watch Xiaohu here now. Not only does he blast gun, not only does he do that, Sam, he then flashes into the backline. 1v4. Name another player that does this. Old man Xiaohu's still got hands, Sam, and he's definitely got balls.
Yeah, gets some essence fluxes, some overloads across the crew. All the while, of course, JJ left a big amount of damage onto Xiaohu. Junja dropped on the Skarner, and Xiao, even with a little bit of assistance there from Zucker, who also had a great fight on this Cassandra, does wonderful, wonderful work.
That is one of my favorite Ryze plays I've ever seen. Just blast cone flashes into the back of it. Now, Weibo need to not throw out this dragon fight. They don't want to die here. They want to use their Baron buff. If the fight is not easy to come by, back off and use the Baron buff instead.
They're up 5,500 gold, and they did get the resets off. They got a lot of gold to work with at this point. Out comes that shot blast onto Gala.
Scary as hell. Gala needs to hit a wave now. He's heading back into mid lane because he needs to regen. He's trying to get that now, and that means JDG will sound the retreat. Shock blast wins the fight for them. Sam, the Jace jungle, I thought it was dead and buried. I thought it was gone. But JJ is proving that it does have some niche applications now. Now, we did say, look, if Weibo didn't want to take that dragon fight, they shouldn't take it. They did. They were rewarded for it. And now they've managed to double down and win, because Elk is going to get himself to double tier for the next dragon. And even if JDG win it, they're still going to be able to be at a point where they go hyper late game. The Actualizer is in for Ryze. Elk is getting a turbo fed into the late game, and Weibo, Sam, they should be favorites to win this game.
Yeah, they
now.
should.
This is just such a Weibo thing to do. Somehow, in against any team you name it, in the LPL week after week, look uncoordinated, looking like a mess. Switch out like their support once again for the Hank, who's not been playing particularly well, honestly, and still somehow beat one of our top teams in the LPL. Weibo Gaming, consistently inconsistent.
Wonderful work. Elk managed to shift away. They did get taken pretty low, but he's beginning to sting now as well. And the Endless Hunger will help keep him topped up is what I'm looking for, alongside the Gluttonous Greave. Zucker shoving in mid lane. You said, hey, I wonder whether this Cassandra could prove to be a bit of a menace. Has been. They have not dealt with the Cassandra full sending. They haven't been able to close the distance on the poke, and the poke has genuinely been dangerous.
It has done. Welcome back, Len, by the way. Great to see you. Hope you're enjoying your time here, as this has been a great series. If you've missed this series, folks, catch back up with it. It's a Weibo classic where they just turn up and have some great gameplay out of nowhere. JJ's had an excellent series. His game one was game saving. Elk will flick himself away from the flick. It's a flash forwards. He's met with a flash from Elk as well.
Looking for it, but the dreaded return really is just a dreaded return to sender. Apparently the Hank has to flash away. Perhaps be a little bit shy, no puns intended, and gets away safely. Not had the easiest game here on the Nico, but again, it's not really been about the kills for Webber, it's just been about the damage.
Yeah, for sure. And I actually think at this point the Bardols haven't been good enough. I know that he's 202, but Vampire's been missing the key targets. He could have hit Elk without Flash and E there, and he goes for the Hank instead. If he'd gone for Elk, I wonder whether they could win that fight there.
Yeah.
I think that Vampire's target selection with these ults has been not great. I know he's 202, the laning phase was fine too. I need to see better ults from him, Sam.
I think I just need to have a bit of a wider conversation, actually, because Xiaoxu as well, I mean, we saw that flash play didn't really work. Whether the flank plays from the Skarner or the Talir, you've got Weaver's Wall, you've got the Ixtal's in, but you can come from odd angles, at least force a Realm Warp here or there. That's not been happening. They've just been sitting in a front to back and taking skill shots.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and again, like, for this game, like, criminal number one for JDG is probably Xiaoshu, who's done very little on the Zarhen.
Yeah.
And then you've got someone like Junji, who I think has just been prey to the fact that Jet just got really fed. I don't blame him too much. I think he's done pretty fine. And then, realistically, the problem I have with Vampire is not that he's having, quote-unquote, a bad game. It's just that he has the agency to win this game with his ult, and he's not done it. And that's been a big problem for him. So, again, it's trying to be nuanced here. I'm trying to be fair about this. I think that Vampire could have hits and game-winning ults, and they haven't hit now, and we're getting to the point where, you know, the Archangels, it's in for Elk. He's stacking that up towards the Seraph's Embrace. If he gets that stacked up before the next big fight, we're going to see some turbo late game Ezreal damage.
We were a little bit nervous about Weibo and their poor Dragon setups, the fact that they've been late to them, actually the fact that these last few have been very good. They've been able to get there first and throw down a lot of damage, and now they're just going to play from miles away and just keep raining down the artillery. The barrage, the shelling continues, and the structures of JDG are the ones that are suffering.
Yeah, very close. One more skill away from Elk getting that hang on. They're looking for a fight now. Junja bot back. Zuka very tanky too. A real credit to Zuka. This Cassante has been very hard to deal with. The flex of the taking the Jace and the Cassante, so JDG didn't have either of them to use. Realm Warp's going to come back. That's actually not a bad denial actually with the Bard ultimate. It's fine. Okay, Seraph's is online. Next time, someone's going to have to spy it out in the bottom left-hand corner to see how much AP he's gotten from just the single AP item. I reckon it'll be... well, near enough 100 and summon or other, right?
It's because he's got double mana crystal,
exactly,
right? Or double tier, right? It's going to be a lot of extra mana scaling.
So he has about, from items, because each of them gives, what, 300 and something mana extra. 360 mana extra on top of the base. They had given, I think it's 540 mana, both of them. So you have 1,000 mana extra-ish from both those items. And then you get, like, 8%. I think it's like 3% or 4% into AP or AD. From both those items, actually. It's pretty similar between the two of them. It's kind of mad, actually. So Dragon's up in a minute. It would be Sol for Weibo. As we said, for this Dragon, it was going to be Elk with the double tier. He has completed that in time. And while he's not been the main character, I think this fight is where we see the late game Ezreal really pop off if he gets any chance to free hit.
Jason now got the Edge of Night and an extra Dirk by the bias.
No, it's a good item, Sam.
Indeed. And again, he's going to be a lot harder to pick off now as well. The value in general of this point of the build is very strong. There's not very many people who are going to deal with that at all. Death Stance done for Xiaoshu. Maybe he finally has enough stats to stand and deliver here. Grimly, but Vampire certainly doesn't.
Hang on, that's going to be literally half the HP away from Vampire. Spell Shield remains intact. All right, let's have a look at Ezreal when he starts to actually land some of this damage here. Hasn't hit a skill shot yet. Shock Blast goes through Junja a little bit there. There you go. Good damage. That's about a third of the HP from that. That's big damage. Yeah, Ezreal, late game. It hurts, folks.
Another shot blast available to come on forward. Xiao who gets hit by the ace in the hole. That's something. It's really not the end of the world here. It would only be sole point for JDG. Xiao will already rush over the wall. Elk looking. The Weaver's Wall is down, but the Dragon's kind of on the wrong side of it. And Zucker's still messing with Xiaoshu. Can get a bit more of a path maker forwards. Oh, Shipper still got caught by the Tempered Fate. Weird timing on that one. The buffer leaves Elk in a horrible spot. Good damage on the Vampire. They've lost a lot, but still the damage keeps on going forwards. And Xiao who flashes on in with the Essence Flux and the Overload, and they blow up the team regardless. Elk with a weird interaction falls, but 4 make that 5 members of JDG fall regardless.
Elk dies, but it won't matter, Sam. They get the Dragon, they get the team fight, and ladies, gentlemen, and everyone else, Weibo Gaming, we present to you the most inconsistent team in history. Or at least within the LPL. We've got a couple of contenders. Weibo will win the series 2-1 on JDG Beijing home ground.
Oh, they're consistent in one thing and one thing only, and that is being inconsistent. What a team. What a fun watch. Them and NIP have been fighting for the title this split. But right now, JDG look at this and go, their dreams of second place have just slipped away.
JDG, with this loss, will be in much tighter contention going into second place into playoffs. With this loss, I believe they end up going just below anyone's level.